Did you ever think you would make it? I feel I'm so close I could taste sweet victory. I know this life meant for me.
Adam, what's your point? The future looks bright.
My handshake is better than anything I ever signed. Right here.
You are a one-of-one?
My son's right about
I don't think I've ever said this before.
All right, so lots going on, lots to cover, and stay tuned because we may be announcing something for us to have dinner together here soon at the one and only place that you know we love, Casa D'Angelo. Story-wise, I posted a tweet asking a simple question. The question was, if we can find out who gave Zelenskyy permission to attack Russia, you can solve the whole riddle here of what's going on with Russia-Ukraine. Do you know what happened? Let me tell you. People showed up out of the woodworks, furious with that tweet. And we're definitely going to talk about that because President Trump came out and had an hour and 15-minute call, I believe, with Putin, talked about the fact that Putin told him he's going to have to retaliate and with Ukraine. And a lot of people in media in Russia are talking about it, that they're hoping it's nuclear to Kiev. They're almost stoking him to use nuclear weapons, which is not what you want. But anyways, that's the case over there. We'll definitely cover that and talk about it. Trump shifts blame to Jerome Powell after shock job report threatens president with worsting slowdown in years. Trump flipped on us. MAGA reacts to potential national citizen database. We'll talk about that. Trump's finance guru goes to war with America's top bankers. You got to hear that story. Trump says extremely hard to make a deal with Xi from China as trade stalemate fuels calls for leaders to talk. So he is now publicly saying Xi's not an easy person to negotiate with. If that's the case, why would you give him the 90-day break, knowing that he's more patient than you because he cares less about his people than you do? Because we have elections here. They don't have elections. They just pick and choose who's going to stay there for a while. So I don't know. I'm really curious to know what happened there. We talked about the Putin thing, documents wielding. Peter Doocy asked Caroline Levitt pressing questions about Biden's auto pen signature. By the way, this thing's getting worse and worse and worse, which there may even be investigating this to see all the pardons that he made. They may backtrack. And you know who's on that? A guy named Fauci, which is not a good thing. Rand Paul is hoping for that, probably somewhere in the country sitting there saying, let's figure this part out. 2 Chinese nationals charged with smuggling potential agro-terrorism fungus into U.S., the DOJ says. That's ABC News. L.A. court orders Trevor Bauer accuser to pay him $300,000 for settlement violation. I wonder if Rob Manfred is going to be helping Trevor Bauer collect the $250 million that he lost. I'm just curious, is that going to be happening or not? Because he lost a lot of money, Trevor Bauer did. He was one of the most exciting players in the MLB. He knew how to agitate, get under the skin. People wanted to watch him. Mickey Mouse Cy Young Award. He would talk shit. He would document his journey. He was doing everything to bring more attention. Like if I was running the MLB, I would love a guy like that because he would bring so much attention. And even the other stuff that happened to him, if the guy's innocent, what are you going to do? You got to come and defend him, but we'll see what happened there.
Winning championships around the world.
Tom, it's above my pay grade. I'm just small little guy here trying to give my thoughts on this. But what I like about what Trevor is doing is he's keeping up a good attitude and still playing in the game that he loves. According to study, young men are not mentally ill enough to vote Democratic.
Say that again?
Let me read it one more time.
Yeah.
According to study, young men are not mentally ill enough to vote for Democrats.
So once I get crazier, I might be able to vote for a
this was a story by Outkick, so we'll see what they're
More
talking about.
depressed than crazy.
Them lambasted for saying we're not going to have anyone around to wipe our asses without more immigration. Damn. Joe Walsh. You guys remember Joe Walsh? Who claimed he's not a Democrat?
Yeah.
The non-Democrat Democrat?
The guy that said he's not a Democrat. He said
Democrat.
6 feet, 3 feet. Yeah. He officially came out publicly and announced he's a Democrat.
He came
Proud
out
moment.
On Pride Month.
No, he finally said it on Pride Month.
I love that.
Isn't that amazing?
Holy, well, congratulations, Joe.
I thought I was only thinking it's a sentimental, noble moment for him.
Yeah.
You too.
I almost cried.
So
But he's straight, guys. Let's not play that game. But he is a
I'm not
Democrat.
playing that.
we're
But
not
he
playing
is a
that.
Democrat official.
Adam, whatever people do in their bedroom, that's fine.
Conversation. All I'm saying is
yes.
Joe Walsh finally came out and he said he's a Democrat.
Yeah, he's a proud. Wait, Pride Month,
2-3
you
years
can't be
ago.
proud about that. I'm proud
Leave
of
it
him.
alone. Adam's a little
proud,
bit
but-
upset this morning. Wall Street is sounding the alarm on U.S. debt. This time it's worth listening to. LA City Council passes budget that trims police fire spending. Tom's been asking for this story for the last 30 podcasts. We're committed to covering it today, and we will get to it. California residents enraged by driverless cars forced by regulators to make loud beeping noises. Rob, do we have a video on this or what it sounds like? We have to show it, California. They just want to piss you guys off to leave that place. Completely made up. Chris Cuomo shrugs off illegal immigrant murder in Americans as artificial. Did we cover this? We didn't cover this.
No, it's
okay. I know
unbelievable.
Vinny wants to say a couple.
Vinny's wanted that one for 3 days.
Yeah.
Dave Portnoy on his podcast, something happened. He got upset because when they were doing the pizza stuff, somebody screamed from the back, and then he reacted with one of his co-hosts talking about it. It's pretty intense. We'll talk about that as well.
Conniption.
Disney slashing hundreds of jobs in film, TV as Hollywood facing industry turmoil. And Hollywood has left Los Angeles, and then we got a couple other stories here about Trump's national ban on 12 countries, and Karine Jean-Pierre has officially left the Democratic Party, folks. It's devastating, but it happened. U.S. Education Department threatens Columbia University accreditation over campus anti-Semitism concerns, and we will comment on what's going on with the nuclear negotiation. Having said that, let me get right into it. Last year, we ran one of the coolest contests ever. And I thought it was going to be a basic dinner and meet and greet and all this other stuff. It turned into a massive spectacle. It was a Minnect contest for 2 months for lightweight, middleweight, heavyweight, and super heavyweight. And even users got involved. And we invited the top 3. You pay your flight, hotel, all that stuff. But once you came here, we went to dinner together at Casa D'Angelo, top-notch dinner. Then we went to the cigar lounge. And it was such a great time. We stayed together till midnight. We had 6.5 hours of conversations. I'm going to show you the highlight from last year. Then I want to announce this contest for all of you guys to compete in from June to July, and the dinner will be sometime in August. Rob, play this clip. Go for it.
We just had our first Minnect dinner. Let me tell you, it was so awesome because we had the dinner. It was absolutely an amazing experience. Oof. The conversations, the networking, great. There's people from all over the world. So I said, maybe I'll stick around for an hour, maybe an hour and a half. But then afterward, we came right here at the cigar lounge. I stayed till midnight. We had 6.5 hours
awesome.
of conversation.
That was fantastic.
Yeah.
So if you weren't there, you missed it. We wish you were there, but I'll give you one counsel. We're about to announce the next contest. Do not miss the next Minnect contest. And I hope to see you there.
By the way, it was so great. Deals were done. Relationships were built. Conversations. So go download the app if you haven't yet, whether it's Apple or Google. Start Minnecting. Ask questions. Nowadays, we got Ray Lewis that's officially on Minnect. And was responding back to people on Minnect. Really? By the way, Stephen A. Smith's going to get active on Minnect on today or tomorrow, starting his account where people can ask Stephen A. questions.
James O'Keefe.
Anna Kasparian, James O'Keefe, Paul Saladino, Terrence Howard, Cuomo. There are so many great people. Lindy Lee is crushing it,
killing it
on Minnect the way that it's going. And by the way, who knows who's going to be at this dinner when we host this. So if you like good conversations, if you want to come to South Florida, we're going to probably give you a tour to headquarters as well when you come down here. Then go straight to dinner. Then go straight to the cigar lounge, which is a private club, but some of you guys will have a chance to be a part of it. And by then, we have a lot of new surprises with the private club, so you'll get a chance to tour as well. So download the app, start Minnecting, start competing. The update on the Leaders Bulletin will be on Minnect.com. Rob, if you go to Minnect.com, just go to Minnect.com, and if you look at the contest, on the experts, that's how it works, okay? If you look at a lightweight right now, at the top is Dean Mason. James O'Keefe right now is second place. Wow. Then is Luis Cancion. Go to a middleweight, Rob. Middleweight right now is John Mason. Then Lily Tam. Then is James Murphy. Let's go to heavyweight, because everybody from heavyweight goes to super heavyweight. So it's Daniel, number 1.
Daniel.
Michael Maher, Matt Sapala. Then it's super heavyweight is what? Super heavyweight is Lindy Lee, myself, Timothy Ryan, Oshana Tom Sauce, Dennis Punnam, and a couple other guys. By the way, the scoring will be the following. To compete the next 2 months, lightweight will have to do a minimum of 200 points. You have to be lightweight today. You can go up, but we're going to calculate your points from today. Middleweight, you have to do minimum of 400. Heavyweight is minimum 400 points, and super heavyweight has to be 1,500 points. And the users contest, go to users, Rob. A new user goes out there, 200 points you score, new users. Existing user has to be 400 points. You'll be invited to that dinner in a cigar lounge with us. Go download the app, start Minnecting today. All right, let's get right into it. Topic of discussion. Which one do we want to start off with? Let's start off with the Ukraine one. Rob, can you pull up the tweet, if you don't mind? And I'm going to read what Trump said after a conversation he had with Putin. So this is the tweet. You guys, if you watched the podcast on Tuesday, I said this. Who gave Zelenskyy the authority to attack Russia? Especially after the minerals deal and the desire for a peace deal. There's no way he attacks 40 Russian bombers in the way that he did without having someone's backing. The answer to this question solves the riddle. So this gets 2.9 million views. Not a lot of people happy. I want to react to some of the comments that were below. So there's a lady named Kate. I believe she's probably from Ukraine. She says, it was me. I gave him the authority and millions of other Ukrainians when we elected him. Question, though, is who gave you an authority to speak nonsense? Great point. And I responded back and I told her, you're so cute. You gave him permission. Isn't that awesome? I'm sure his puppet masters are very happy with you. Have a wonderful day, sweetheart. So go to the next one, Rob, if you can. Grok asked the question, what happened here? And he says, hey, what do you think is, he says, Zelenskyy likely authorized the June 1st, 2025 attack on the Russian air bases as Ukraine commander-in-chief with the operation executed by the SBUs. No direct evidence shows that U.S. or NATO authorization, but general support like, can you show more, April 2025 Ukraine minerals deal may have emboldened Ukraine. The attack targeting bombers used against Ukrainian cities aligned with self-defense under international law. Controversy persists over implicit external backing. So if you go a little lower, a couple other guys kept saying things like, you know, keep going, keep going, keep going. Let's see if we can find some of these guys that came back with real harsh commentary. And by the way, I totally understand what they're saying. One guy said, if you go back, Rob, I'll explain why I said this. Permission. So why did I say permission? Rob, can you Google what countries have the strongest military power in the world? Type in top 100. Top 100 strongest military in the world, if you could. Top 100. Top 100. There you go. Watch this here, okay? If you go to top 100, not top 10, top 100 matters. Top 10 doesn't give us the answer. There's a, right there. You can go to the next one, Rob. Go a little lower. Right there, that says military strength ranking. Okay. Zoom out a little bit so we can see it. Zoom in a little bit so we can see it, Rob. So number one is U.S. Who's number two?
Russia.
Okay.
Russia.
Does Russia need anyone's help to go to war? No. They have their own weapons. They're number two in the world. Okay. Does China need anyone's permission? No. Does India need anyone's permission? No.
A little bit.
Maybe not necessarily. They need support, but not necessarily. How about South Korea if they want to do anything with the other guys? UK probably needs NATO's help. Keep going lower. Keep going lower. Keep going lower. Where's Ukraine here? Keep going lower. Keep going lower. Keep going lower. Number 20.
20.
You know what Ukraine needs? Help. And by the way, when guys that say things like the following, let me tell you, isn't it impressive that Ukraine stood up against Russia? No, they didn't. Ukraine, Germany, NATO, U.S., everybody that gave them weapons got Ukraine to stand up against Russia, not Ukraine directly against Russia. This whole nonsense about the fact that Ukraine is showing so much strength, they're not. It's Ukraine, U.S., Biden, Germany, France, NATO that's showing strength, not UK alone. Can you imagine if this war was Ukraine alone and nobody gave them weapons?
Oh, it'd be over in a week.
Exactly the point.
No, yeah.
So the point is when people say, it's because our leader decided to do this. No, your leader didn't decide to do this. Your leader went around the world begging for money and weapons. And other countries empowered your leader to do what he did. Yeah. Other countries, not him. So then Trump has a phone call with Putin, and he says the following, Rob, if you can go to it. It's right after my tweet, by the way. It's right above my tweet, Rob. So if you go into the, if you don't mind going to the tweet, because I want to also point out what some people commented on the bottom of it. If you can just go back, there you go, right there. It's and I posted. I said what? Not good. So watch this. I just finished speaking with by telephone with Vladimir Putin of Russia, President Vladimir Putin. The call lasted approximately 1 hour and 15 minutes. We discussed the attack on Russia's docked airplanes by Ukraine, and also various other attacks that have been taking place by both sides. It was a good conversation, but not a conversation that will lead to immediate peace. President Putin did say, and very strongly, that he will have to respond to a recent attack on the airfields. We also discussed Iran and the fact that time is running out of Iran's decision pertaining nuclear weapons, which must be quickly made quickly. I stated to President Putin that Iran cannot have a nuclear weapon. And on this, I believe that we were in agreement. President Putin suggested that he will participate in the discussions with Iran and that he could perhaps be helpful in getting this brought to a rapid conclusion. It is my opinion that Iran has been slow-walking their decision on this very important matter, and we will need a definitive answer in a very short period of time. So I put at the top, not good. Go to the bottom, Rob, on one of the comments. Somebody said, you scared? And my comment was, concern for innocent families who live in Russia and Ukraine. This isn't good for anybody, by the way. Right. This could get very ugly, very nasty for a lot of people. Trust me, you don't want that if you live in Russia. You don't want that if you live in Ukraine. You don't want that if you live in America. You don't want that if you live in the Middle East. You don't want that if you're part of NATO, UK, any of those guys. Nobody wants this, but it looks like something's about to happen. So my thoughts. Question I want to ask you is the following. Adam, Tom, Vinny, do you think, because there was an element of when I said if the president doesn't respond back, they knew that this was going to happen, okay?
Meaning Trump.
Meaning Trump had intel. Now I'm still convinced they had intel that this was going to happen. I'm convinced they knew this was going to take place.
You think Trump knew that this
I'm convinced that they knew this was going to take place, okay? The 40 bombers that they attacked Ukraine. I'm convinced they knew about that because whose weapons are they using to attack them anyway? It's not like it's Ukrainian technology. They're buying it from somebody. So I'm convinced they knew. But the question is, do you think President Trump posting on X what Putin said that they're going to be attacking Ukraine, do you think that's a good thing? Do you think he asked Putin, are you okay if I publicly announce this? Do you think Putin knew he was going to post this publicly? What do you think about that? And at this point, since it's been 48 hours since this moment here, has your position changed? Has anything changed? With new stories, Tom, where are you at with this?
I still think number 6 and 7 on the military strength chart, the UK and France were the ones that gave the nod on this. I believe that because when that whole debacle broke down in the Oval Office and the screaming match with J.D. Vance and everything, and we said, we will not be your backstop, because he said, I'm only signing the minerals deal if you agree to be the backstop, which effectively puts Ukraine in NATO, right, Vinny?
Yep.
And he said, no, we're not going to do that. I'm not going to put American lives and American technology in a direct war with Russia, because 5 minutes after you leave here, you're going to do a skirmish. And if I'm your backstop, now I'm technically at war with Russia, and I'm already at a proxy war through my military defense complex. He keeps shipping things. So where did he go? Starmer Macron. And we saw him walking there. They embraced him. Remember, 2 days later, he's over there. Oh, I'm so sorry about the Oval Office. We're with you, and we're giving you money, and it's going to be a loan. Part of it's a loan. I still believe that the UK and France want the war with Ukraine to push Russia back, and I believe they were part of the green light on this because they split with the U.S. on the foreign policy after that meeting in the Oval Office. That's what I think.
Adam, your thoughts?
So the question is, who gave Zelenskyy the authority to do this attack, right?
That's one of the parts. The other one is publicly announcing, which Tom didn't cover, the fact that, do you think it's a good move to publicize a world leader you're trying to negotiate with their next moves? Do you think that permission was asked? Do you think that's a good thing? And do you have any other thoughts on this, on what's evolved the last 48 hours?
So this is a negotiation, right? So Trump is famous for writing what book? The Art of the Deal. So what I want to know is what's going on is what are the terms of this deal? I'm pretty certain about a few things, and you tell me if I'm wrong. Pretty sure that Putin is the bad guy, despite a lot of people not liking Zelenskyy. I'm pretty sure that Zelenskyy has been sort of a puppet, whether that's by NATO, whether that's by the EU, whether that's by the United States. I'm pretty sure that without our help, he'd be a goner, and so would Ukraine. But I know this one thing. Follow the money, right? The whole conversation about NATO was every country has to do what? Put in 2% of their GDP. Is that right, Tom? 2%. Yes or no?
Some more, some less. I think U.S. is at 3.2%.
No. Yeah, you're right. What you're supposed to do is 2%. But who's putting in more? This is my point.
Us.
Look at all the countries who have the most to lose or are the most concerned about Russia. Poland, our friend, what's his name?
Dominic
Torzinski.
Yes.
They're putting in 4.2%. That's the most in the world. They're next up in Russia. If Russia does want to dominate Europe. Estonia, Latvia, Lithuania, all well above 2% in the 3 to 4% range. Germany, UK, France, Denmark, even Turkey, all in the 2% range. Then you have countries like Canada, Italy, Spain, not paying their fair share. Here's the deal. These countries would not be spending this much money on their defense if this wasn't a massive concern. So I know in America here, we actually tend not to give two shits about Ukraine these days, but the people in Europe do.
I don't think that's the case, Adam.
I think the
half
American
of America
people
is
are
still,
over this.
No. I think you would be amazed what a big faction of America still supports Ukraine and hates Russia.
I don't see one college protest. I don't see one Ukraine pin. I don't see one. I see gays for Gaza everywhere. I see nothing about Ukraine.
Don't confuse those two. Do I think Americans are burned out with this nonsense Ukraine-Russia thing? Yes. Do I think Americans are sitting there siding with Putin? No. I think a lot of academia, I think a lot of college, I think a lot of mainstream media, I think a lot, and by the way, I think a percentage of conservatives even are still siding with Zelenskyy. I think they are.
Why wouldn't they be?
What do you mean, why wouldn't they be?
No,
it's not why wouldn't they be.
Yeah.
I'm only addressing that you said people don't like Zelenskyy in America.
I think people are over the begging, but...
And the money that we've given?
If you had to say, who's the bad guy here? Is it Ukraine or is it Russia? I mean, my instincts are saying, no, it's Putin. Putin is the most dictatorial leader in all of Europe. In all of Europe. Yeah. They're the most corrupt country in all of Europe. What country has aspirations for, I don't know if it's global domination, but at least European domination? This whole, Reagan would be turning in his grave if he heard that Republicans were all of a sudden siding with Russia and Putin over Democratic allies. There's a very weird schism going on here. And when Trump dressed him down and disrespected him, which I was an advocate of, in the Oval Office, did he write him off and never talk to him again? Or did 2 weeks later, did he meet with him and work out a mineral deal? So as annoying and as, I guess, feminine as Zelenskyy is, he's still our ally, and Putin is not.
I don't think that's what a lot of conservatives are siding with Putin or not. I think
conservatives are completely confused.
I don't think they are. I think conservatives want the war to end.
We all want the war to end, don't we?
But guess what? So Zelenskyy, you shoot down 40 bombers. You don't want the war to end.
Of course not.
So if you're claiming you want peace, and you're saying this is an 18-month plan that you're executing, you never wanted peace. So don't act like you wanted peace.
I can't get in the mind of Zelenskyy, but I don't think Putin wants peace. So, but it's not like Zelenskyy did this in an echo chamber. A week before, Trump called Putin crazy because in the middle of peace negotiations, Putin started bombing Kiev. So if I punch you and you punch me and I punch you and you punch me and then I punch you again, am I going to get mad?
But watch what you just said right there.
Sure.
What you just said is you said conservatives are defending Putin. Trump just called Putin crazy.
I'm not putting Trump as a conservative in the same category.
All I'm saying to you is
Trump's an independent.
No, what I'm saying to you is no matter what you talk about on the conservative side or Trump side, what they want is this thing to be done. This thing to be done. But if this keeps going back and forth, we do a minerals deal, you attack back, you don't want to have the meeting, you're playing the games, yeah, this is going to continue. So for me, I'm sitting here saying, I don't know, do you really think Zelenskyy wants the war to be done? Do you think Zelenskyy wants the war to be done?
That's a good question. I mean, my initial gut reaction is like, yes, of course.
You think so?
But I understand the way that you frame that question, that it's possibly a situation where he wants to prolong it to do what?
But have you ever?
What would he benefit? That's a good question you're asking.
I don't know.
How would he benefit by continuing the war and having his people die?
How many people don't want the Ukraine-Russia war to be done?
I think there's a lot of people in the military-industrial complex that would love to see this continue.
You just killed and think about it. Umberto made a good point yesterday on Unusuals. This delayed retaliation from Putin is really weird. He normally it's like you hit back. This is completely out of his character. And I'm going to take just a quick because Pat. I don't think Putin knows that Trump was going to post, hey, we talked. He said he's going to hit y'all. Hey, Ukraine, get ready. But, we had a good conversation, but he's still going to attack you. I don't think as Putin, being who Putin is, he's going to be cool with that. And then you have Zelenskyy coming on camera, what was it, last night, going, hey, I want to talk ceasefire now. Now he wants to talk about it. Let's not forget, by the way, Adam, and everybody was taught, listen, we know who Putin is, okay? He kills people that go against him. Let's not compare.
Yeah, no big deal. We know who he is. It's fine.
Adam,
just the country dictator and autocrat. It's not a big deal.
Adam, the country that you live in, George Bush, you know what he did? He started an illegal war and 1 million people died. So if we're going to compare who's bad, let's not play that game.
Putin, George Bush, same thing.
Oh, yeah. Now, Adam, that's a whole nother thing that, trust me, you don't want to get involved with me because you won't win that conversation. You won't win that argument. Do you think George Bush Jr. Belongs in prison for what he did
I think
with
he's
Iraq?
been the worst president of my lifetime.
He killed.
But a president in the United States doesn't go to prison. But go ahead.
And you don't want to
But
go there.
Putin, it's not a big deal.
Yeah,
Go
yeah.
ahead.
1 million people Iraq. I had friends that died. Yeah, Adam, you don't care about that.
Number one, tough guy. I didn't say any of that. So if you
You
want to use
can't
sarcasm,
compare. You cannot
If you want to
co-
use sarcasm to say that I'm
Adam,
defending George
you
W.
were
Bush,
taught-
try again.
You were taught, Adam. How many times have you been wrong? Hillary Clinton, Biden. Could you be wrong in this situation that
Vinny,
we were taught to hate Putin
Vinny,
because Adam?
We're all wrong. This is why we say,
Putin-
in my opinion.
Okay, here's my question
But
to you.
But
how did this war
specialize
start?
in being wrong and loud. That's the difference.
How am I, tell me how I'm wrong. Go ahead. How am I wrong?
Are you trying to tell me that you've never been wrong?
No, I'm asking you specifically, how am I wrong? You and the loser American people that wear a Ukraine pin, you were duped. They were all duped because remember you were here sitting here with Kate Collins, whatever the English girl. We were giving billions and billions. We're at $150 billion given to this idiot. I don't want to give them any money, but how did this war start? How did this war start and when did it start? Under Biden, especially when he came out and goes, you know what? If Russia does a small little bombing, we're not going to get pissed off.
Border incursion.
All right, so help us out here. What's your point?
This is my point, Adam. This country, all these people, the Lindsey Grahams, all the Mike Pompeos, they want war.
The war
We are
hawks.
a war-like country. We've been at war since God knows when, all right? And anytime people wanted to stop war, what happens? The last president before Trump, who Trump did get shot in the head, before Trump, which president didn't want us to go to war and his head got blown off in front of his wife and in front of the whole freaking world? Okay? That's what happens. That guy, Zelenskyy, is a freaking puppet, and we've built his ass up to be this man of honor. You know what happens in Ukraine, Adam? Conscription? They're running up to people, grabbing husbands and shit, and putting them in cars to go fight a war. Okay? His own people don't like him, all right? It's a money laundering scheme, and now you're messing with Putin, who does have nukes, and then he has all these people backing him, and it's an ugly situation. I'm not saying Putin's not a bad guy, but Adam, we pushed this guy to start this shit because they kept. What happened with NATO? He said, "Stop coming in. We promise we're not gonna keep advancing into NATO. Not 1 inch. Niet means niet. Do you remember that?
Let me just niet you
Putin
for a
should
second.
have
As much as you're defending Putin,
shouldn't have started this, but
as much
Putin
as you're
was provoked. We knew exactly what he was going to do, and we poked him.
Okay, fair enough. Not a
so
bad
you
point.
poked him and he started shit. Okay, now and you expect him
So
not to?
what
And
should,
the military
Ukraine,
industrial complex. War is
what
good for
should,
business. Here
what
we
should
go.
Ukraine, NATO, United States do when Ukraine was invaded? Nothing? Zero money? Zero troops? Zero aid? Is that your recommendation?
Provoking.
So when it started, you're like, yep, fuck you, Ukraine.
So wait, hold on.
What would you have done?
No, Adam, here's my thing. You provoke somebody to bomb a country. You provoke a war. Of course you have to help them because all the money and all the defense contractors are American.
So of course you have to help them.
You have to, but you started it, so we're effed either way.
So all I'm doing is hearing you explaining and just running in circles. Do you have any solutions?
How about it should never have started? Because
Okay,
now
great.
what?
Do you have any solutions?
Yeah, Adam, I don't want any support for these guys in fighting. What Trump is doing is what he's supposed to do. Stop the freaking fighting. Okay, and he's trying. He's calling one of them crazy. You think he respects this guy too? Zelensky's a puppet.
So
That's all he is.
Let's look back to the question. I didn't answer it. Adam, please stop. Let's look back to Pat's question. I didn't answer it, and I'll answer it here. I don't think Trump sets up his post, Pat, with anybody. I don't think he told anybody. I think he went back, thought about it, and he made his post. I think he does that, and I think that's one of his styles.
Do you think he told Putin, "I'm going to post this"?
No, I do not. I do not think he tells anybody. I really don't think he tells anybody. I think he goes and thinks about it and says, you know what, this is what I'm going to say. Because if you hear the things he says about Powell, about this, about that, you would imagine if he goes to a consensus of advisors, there's probably a lot of people going to say, Mr. President, don't do that. But I think he goes back and says, nope. This is the way I'm going to do it. This is what I'm going to say. I'm going to go. So I don't think he cleared it with Putin or even talked about it with Putin. What do you think, Ben?
I don't think so at all. When Trump, remember when reporters even asked Trump about, hey, are you going to strike? He's like, why would I talk to you about my plans? Why would I tell you? Yeah. In the same situation, Pat, I want to know your opinion. Do you think Putin knew or is cool with Trump posting like, hey, we had a good conversation. Oh, but by the way, he's going to retaliate. Letting them know that, like, giving them a heads up. You think he knew? You think Putin knows that this guy posted that? Or gave him the okay?
Look, I don't know about, like if I'm telling you I'm going to attack and you post it without telling me that you're going to post it, I don't know. I don't know if you do that. I think you're going to say, hey, I just want to let you know, I have to tweet about this, and I'm going to put it out there because the world needs to know. And he says, no problem, do it. Okay, great. Just so you know, I'm going to say this. All right, do it. Versus you reveal the enemy's attack publicly to the world. I don't know. I don't know, the only thing that I see that the right move there is that you told him that you were going to do this. And then it's like, okay, great. Yeah, do it. I want you to say it publicly. They need to know. Mm-hmm. Okay, cool. Then that's what I'm going to do. They need to know that I'm going to attack to them because they cannot do something like this. Mm-hmm. No problem. I don't see it being the way that it is on the way that the decision was made. But we're going to see what's going to happen here. I mean, the reality of it is, if he said he's going to attack, by the way, the entire media, if you go on CNN's Instagram account, Rob, and, if you go on CNN, if you want to, for me, I watch both sides to see what they're saying about the story. If you go to one of the stories, let me see if I can find this or not. One of the stories was a fellow talking about that the news in Russia, they're saying publicly, influencers in Russia are saying nuke Kiev. Wow. Nuke Kiev. So imagine if influencers in America are telling the president to nuke, right? So Russians are sitting there, they're not happy with what happened, and they want retaliation. It's the last thing anybody wants. You want the market to be distracted with all this other stuff, and then boom, tensions, and then you have to get involved in. If the war gets bigger and bigger, we have to somehow, some way get involved, and that's more cost, more money, more debt, more it increasing, more us selling weapons to others that we don't even have right now because we've given so much out. No, we are, things are pretty unstable right now when it comes down to things that we have to score away. We need 3 to 4 years of just stability of building things structurally here. We don't have it right now. We don't need any kind of distractions. We already have Israel and Hamas going on. To add this on top of it, one of these two's got to stop. And neither one of them have stopped yet. It's not a good thing.
It's getting worse.
Just so you know, no, it's what I'm saying. So, by the way, and guess what everybody on the left is saying now on Twitter?
This is it.
No, you know what they're saying? What happened to your peace president?
Yeah.
What happened to your peace president? What happened to your peace president? And that's exactly what I said the last 2 days, that they're going to use this to pin it against him to say, I thought you were going to be a peace. And this is a black eye.
But that's fair criticism.
It's not about it's fair criticism.
When you come out and you say, all right, Babe Ruth went to bat, and he's like, and he points, and basically he says he's going to hit a home run, and it's been 150 days, and you barely had a hit, then yeah, people are going to be like, what happened to the home run guy, buddy? So as much as I advocate for what Trump is doing and wants peace, he called his shot, and he struck out. Let's just call a spade here. It's been 150 plus days since he's been in office. He said he would end the war on day one, and we're further from peace than when he got elected to office. That's the brutal reality of this. And I voted for Trump, and I voted for peace, but he didn't do it, bro. So we'll see what happens here. And, I don't think Putin has any interest in concede. Okay, so let me ask you a question. What do you think are Putin's top 3 goals at this point?
Putin's top 3 goals?
Yeah, why is Putin doing this? Because I'm pretty sure if he stopped talking Ukraine would stop defending themselves and be like, all right, truce. It's not like Ukraine is trying to take over Russia. So ask the very simple question. Why is Putin doing this?
I think he's pretty public about what he wants to do.
What does he want to do?
He's pretty public about telling NATO, stop trying to force Ukraine to join you.
Okay,
Period.
I agree.
Period.
That's
Okay?
number one.
Number one. Number two, he wants to get the east side of Ukraine to say this is our land.
Okay.
Okay, that's clear. It's not like it's unclear about that. And I think aside from that, what else would you add to it?
So the only other thing that I would add to that, I think that you're 2 out of 3. I think the third thing, which goes back to my initial point, is I think he wants to put the band back together. I think he wants to do the USSR thing 2.0.
No.
That's what, no, not no.
You can say that.
Why do you think Poland, Estonia, Latvia, all these countries, Lithuania, that used to be part of the USSR, are doubling their defense budget.
Yeah, you should.
If they weren't concerned,
No,
they'd
you
be like,
should.
yeah, don't worry.
No, you
don't
should.
worry about it.
You should do that.
So
But
they're very
preventative.
concerned.
Yeah, it's preventative. I just don't know if that's going to be going back to USSR. You know how the oligarchs would do? Well, you know what the oligarchs of Russia would do to him if we wanted to do that? You know what they would do to him? You know what would happen over there? You don't think these guys are sitting there? In order for him to continue with his power, he needs the help of the billionaires. Do you think the billionaires are going to want him to go back to communism and the control and capitalism and business leaves and money leaves? No. He does that. He's going to lose a lot of the support.
I generally
that he
don't know
has.
the answer to this, but
Yeah.
I don't think he gives two shits about the
No, it's
oligarchs.
Not, no, I think you're right that he doesn't give two shits. But guess what he knows? He needs him. He needs him. You think Trump gets elected without Musk?
Nope.
Yeah,
You think Trump
the
gets
difference
elected
is Trump needs money. Putin will take the money. He'll, your company, I own it now. Your boats, I own it now. Your riches, your rubles, I own them now.
Yeah. Let's go to the next
Putin will
story.
take what the hell he wants.
Let's guys. My goal was in 30 minutes to try to solve this entire problem.
I think we did it.
I just want to let you
I think we
know.
did
I'm
it.
so
We're good.
disappointed with us, but
Yes.
we'll move on to the next story.
Vinny, I
and
have a
see.
Ukraine bid for you, buddy.
Yeah, we are
I know
definitely
exactly where you could put it too.
We are definitely moving
Oh
on
my gosh.
with this story.
You
Okay,
want me
let's
to
go.
put it?
Let's go to economy. Trump shifts blame to Jerome Powell after shock job report threatens president with worse his hiring slowdown in years. Trump criticized Federal Reserve Jerome Powell after the ADP national employment report showed private payrolls increased by only 37,000 jobs in a month that made the lowest since March of 2023. Posting on Truth Social, ADP numbers out. Too late. Powell must now lower the rate. Trump claimed he is unbelievable. Europe has lowered 9 times, despite the European Central Bank cutting rates 7 times. With the latest in mid-April, the weak job report far below the 110,000 job forecast by Reuters economists prompted, damn, that's 30% of it. That's not good. Prompted Trump's pressure on Powell, who has kept interest rates between 4.25% and 4.5%, with the Fed stating after a May 29 meeting with Trump, Chair Powell did not discuss his expectations for monetary policy, except to stress that the path of policy will depend entirely on incoming economic information. Jamie Dimon stated the amount of mismanagement is extraordinary, citing high yields and national debt risk. Tom.
Well, guess what? I'm siding with the president on this, and let me paint it for you. I'm going to paint you fat. Words talk, but numbers scream. Let's go look at some numbers. So I pulled together 4 quick exhibits, Pat, that we can go through this. And if you're watching, I hope you can see it in video, and I'll narrate for those of you that are listening. So the first thing we have CNBC pointing out, they say Trump says too late, Powell. But underneath, they talk about facts, things that are happening with European Central Bank cutting rates. And they also talk about jobs. Then we go over here, Procter & Gamble. Take a look here. Headline today, this morning, Procter & Gamble to cut 7,000 jobs. Wow. So I looked at it and I said, well, let's see, that's one headline, one company. That's certainly a lot of people. But if jobs are being cut and unemployment is threatening to go up, that is a very, 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 very good reason to lower interest rates. So then I go, what has been happening with jobs? So I went and took a look. And guess what I found out? Where is that, Rob? You have that?
Yeah, right here.
There it is. Check this out. May over May. 47% increase in job cuts, May 24 versus May 23, 100,000 cuts in the United States. Walt Disney, TikTok, Electronic Arts, Microsoft, Google, Match Group, Amazon, Morgan Stanley, and Bristol Myers Squibb. I'm naming things from biotech to retail. So that's happening. Interesting. Well, that would seem to indicate that maybe Powell should give us a quarter point. Well, when does that happen? Let's look at the European Central Bank. So this morning, European Central Bank headline, 8th straight cut. So he said 9 times, but the 8th straight cut is coming because Lagarde says is forced, and she said she has hit 1.7, 1.8% inflation in Europe, and so we are taking it down. So take a look right here. Inflation in Europe went down to 2%, and she says, I'm giving you another quarter point. That is the 8th cut in a row. Trump said 9 in his tweet. Actually, it's 8, which means 8 times 0.25. If you have 8 quarters, Vinny, you have $2.
$2.
So
Okay,
that's
got it.
2 full points they've cut, 8 cuts in a row. Now we go to the dot plot, Pat. This is very interesting. This is where the Fed Board of Governors are telling us, and the last dot plot they did was in March. And here it is. They are right now, our interest rate is 4.25 to 4.5. The dot plot has it. You see the cluster of dots that is drifting down towards 3%? That is where they are actually saying, yeah, we think we better get with the program and maybe get set here to make a cut. So now we go to the calendar. Go to the calendar. Federal open market. When will they get together, and why is Trump so revved up right now? Oh, June 17th, 18th. That's a week and a half from now. The Fed will meet. And you've got job reports coming out. You've got the European Central Bank now has their interest rate, Pat, at 2%, half of ours. We are 4.25, 4.5. They are half, which means the dollar is stronger because it's more expensive. You look at the interest rate. Who's more expensive? That's a stronger currency. And take a look here. I am with the president on this one. Now, the president has been talking to Powell a lot. And there were people out there, even CNBC was saying, he's been so heavy on this. Maybe it's like the boy who cried wolf. But right now, he's not crawling wolf because you know what it is? Trump is a business guy. You make deals based on what you see and you read tea leaves. Government is fully reactionary. It goes like this. Trump is a lifeguard. He sees a black shadow in the water out there. He blows a whistle, sounds a horn. Let's find out what the shadow is because it could be a shark. So let's get everybody out of the water, just normal thing at the beach, blow it. However, this is how Powell works. Powell works when he sees a fin in teeth. And everybody gets out of the water and everybody's happy except fat Mr. Johnson, who just got bit because he's the slowest swimmer and it was really a shark.
I like that
So
name.
you see what I mean? That's Powell. Powell waits till he sees the fin in the water and some blood. Trump is out there saying, I see a black shadow in the water. I don't like it. In this case right here, I am behind the president 100%. Powell should cut a 1/4 point coming up next week. Absolutely. Especially on the heels of the numbers and everything that are coming up. I don't think Powell will. I think they're thinking about it. I think the dot plot is showing it, but I think they're going to wait till July 7th to 9th. I think that's the way Powell reads it. I think he'll wait till July 7th to 9th to drop a quarter, and we'll get early sniffs of second quarter earning reports because you'll be there on June 30th, and we'll probably get some more things. But come on, man. Look at that list of companies. It was biotech, Microsoft, electronics, retail. Disney. There's a lot of things happening. And the job cuts in America are up 47% this May versus last May. Come on, man. That's a black shadow in the water.
Come on, man. Good job, Tom.
Shoulda, woulda, coulda. I'm not going to get into the weeds or in depth as good as Tom is, but I will explain the relationship between Trump and Powell as best as I can. So there's nothing more that Trump would like to do than yell 2 words to Jerome Powell, and that's, "You're fired." He's threatened him. He's dissed him. He's publicly berated him. He's threatened to fire him. But looky here. Jerome Powell hasn't gone anywhere. Has he? Has he conceded to Trump once? Trump is the person that put Powell in charge of the Fed in 2018. How many times has he completely berated him into public? And has Jerome Powell done anything? So here's my opinion. I think Trump is like, they're both driving the car together. Trump, he's all gas, no brakes. We had that guy on the show, Andrew Callahan. Trump is like, go faster, cut the rates. We want dynamic growth. Let's go. And Jerome Powell's like, listen, guy, there's a speed limit here. We're going to basically try to take it easy. I get it if you want to speed a little bit, but we're going to stay in the lanes here, and we're going to go exactly what the speed limit should be. And that is the height of the conflict of what's going on here. Trump wants to go fast, all gas, no brakes, and Jerome Powell's basically saying, pump the brakes, buddy. I know you're president of the United States, but I'm president of the central bank, and I'm going to run this show.
Do you think he's doing a good job? Because, I mean, obviously, Trump hired a bunch of people when he first came in because he didn't know any better. You think it was a good choice to have Powell or not? Because, I mean, the feds don't answer to anybody, right, Tom? They're their own.
I think
that's correct.
Powell has been a steady hand at the wheel.
So yeah,
when
so
there's
it's a
been
good
a lot
choice.
of chaos in the world.
So good choice.
I'd give him a B+.
What do you think?
I don't think Jerome, like some of these guys get jobs and they just want to get in front of the camera.
Of course. He's not.
That's not this guy.
Oh, for sure.
So he's not doing it because he's trying to come up with a book and say, I'm now an independent. Biden did this.
Yeah.
He's not that guy. He's just kind of like, look, man, you asked me to do this job. I'm going to do my best. It sucks because you have to deal with Trump and every day is going to call you out, blame everything on you, and da-da-da-da-da. But here's what I'm doing. I think the more we wait, the better it is. You know, because it's forcing the market to correct the fake actors. Mm-hmm. And you know, I'm not worried about June or July because, you know, of course you'd want June because June becomes what? Q2 instead of having a July. July becomes what? Q3. So it may help June if you do the reports this month, lowering the rates this month instead of next month. But I actually don't mind him taking his time. I don't mind him taking his time. I am more concerned about the stuff that's going on over there with the war than I'm concerned about this.
Absolutely, I agree with that.
We can wait one more month. We can wait one more month before we get there. And by the way, you know what's crazy? If I was Trump, I'd be doing exactly the same thing I'm doing. Hurry up and lower the rates. Yeah. But as a consumer, that I'm not the president, guess what? I'm saying it's okay if we go one more month. So I'm supportive of both sides.
Would you agree with one thing?
You don't hear me like this. You don't hear me.
No, I get. And by the way, you made a very eloquent argument on all our numbers. If we're at 4.25, 4.5, Europe is at 2 points. Half of us, and of course the dollar is strong because they used to talk about how weak the dollar was. Now the dollar is strong, but you don't want to come a little bit lower? Like a little bit? You think a quarter or a half is going to do anything? No, do it. I get that argument, but we can wait one more month. So,
how much influence would you say between 0 and 100 Trump actually has on Powell?
10%.
Yeah, I think that's even a high number.
Yeah, 10%.
There's no indications that Powell has listened to Trump.
No, I don't think Powell goes to sleep being worried about getting fired.
Not at all.
No, I don't think he cares.
Yeah.
And not in an arrogant way, not in a Comey way, not in a Hillary way. I just don't think he cares. He's like, look, you asked me to do this job. He probably was raised good by his parents, that he's got pride in his job and his duties and his country and all that stuff. And he wants to do his job right. And I'm okay with that.
You remember when he started talking trash about Trump?
When is that?
Exactly. It never happened. He just keeps quiet.
It's not him. It's not his style. Let me go to the next one, guys. California. LA City Council passes budget that trims police and fire spending. So as if that place is getting safer and safer, they decide to trim some more to make the place even more unsafe. Rob, if you got the clip, the LA City Council approved a $13.9 billion budget on Friday, reducing Mayor Karen Bass's proposed public safety spending and trimming layoffs from 1,600 to roughly 700, with Councilmember Enes Hernandez stating, we are in one of the most difficult financial crises that the city has seen in decades, so every department put in an effort to make sure the city could stay afloat. The budget limits new hiring in LA Police Department to 240 officers and Fire Department to 60 employees, far below Bass's 480 and 227, facing a nearly $800 million deficit. The budget restores funding for programs like the Cultural Affairs Department and streetlight repairs, while Matthew Szabo, the city administrative officer, warned in March that LA faces a fiscal crisis due to a surge in legal settlements, lower than expected tax collections, and mounting personal costs. Billionaire developer Rick Caruso criticized the cuts, asking, look around you. Do we need less firefighters? And noting, now we all have the lowest, we will have the lowest amount of police per capita in the history of the city. Rob, play this clip.
We have Councilmember Park, Councilmember
What's this one here, Rob?
This is the city council meeting where they're discussing where they're discussing the
budget?
Yeah, the budget, and there's a city council person who goes off on the council for even considering the budget. She goes, I mean, it's a 4-minute clip, but I can play it a little bit faster, but she goes scorched earth.
Let me hear it.
Council President, at the start of this budget process, we made a promise to maintain core services and minimize impacts to Angelenos. But this budget doesn't reflect those promises. It's bloated with homeless spending, a bottomless pit, and taxpayer boondoggle that doubles down on failure year after year. And frankly, at this point, it's just embarrassing. Hundreds of millions of dollars on bridge homes and home keys and interim housing sites, and no one can even tell us which ones are operational and which ones aren't, or how many beds we have. Spending $1.5 million per door to build micro units of housing to give away to homeless drug addicts, when the vast majority of our own city employees can never afford a condo at that price. LASA is in a free-for-all. Literally no one is able to account for the billions we flushed down the toilet. the county wisely pulling out, while we're over here at the city completely unprepared and so unable to manage our own homeless affairs that we're about to be placed in receivership by a federal judge. Again, it's embarrassing. I don't think we should agree to spend another penny on homelessness until we, as a full council, not just the few of you who get invited into the conversation, have the chance to chime in and actually cast a vote on whether we're finally getting a divorce from LAHSA and what the future of homeless services delivery looks like in LA. But instead of fixing that mess, what did we decide to go after? The increase we gave our fire department? After all, we literally just witnessed in January with our own eyes how desperately in need they are with literally half the staffing and funding they should have for a fire department in a city of our size. There are still 100 rigs sitting over at the boneyard, but we're sitting here unable to say yes to the mechanics that we need to fix them. We're shrinking LAPD in favor of expanding other programs that haven't been effective, and we're doing it right on the cusp of major world events and in the midst of a crime and homelessness crisis, while our residents continue to be victimized in a city where the former deputy mayor just pled guilty to calling in bomb threats to City Hall. That's the state of our city. Going after our neighborhood councils, the people who volunteer their time to help guide us and do good things in our neighborhood and in our city. All of our residents and taxpayers, all they want is a fully funded police and fire department. They want the sidewalks fixed. They want the streetlights to work, and they want their kids to be able to play at the local park without having to step over drug and trash camps. We are down rabbit holes of spending on things that no one cares about. We haven't eliminated the price gouging that we do to ourselves.
Wow.
Is she Republican or Democrat?
Just counting good conscience.
You can pause it.
She's Republican or Democrat?
I'll have to check on that. Her name is Tracy Park. She is a city council member with Los Angeles.
Tom, your thoughts on this?
So I'll tell you what's going on.
Find out, Rob.
Karen Bass is a Marxist. I will say it, and I'm not calling names. I'm describing what I see based on her policies and her history. She's a Marxist. But guess what happens, Vinny, on June 2nd, 2026?
What?
The mayor election in LA will be June 2nd, 2026. We are now 1 year from the election, and 1 year for the election, suddenly Karen Bass wakes up in the morning and walks into City Hall with exactly what these people have been asking for, what Tracy Park and people have been asking for. This was not Karen Bass. Karen Bass cut the fire department. Karen Bass put that individual in the fire department that we saw. And I don't know for certain her orientation where she was, but she self-describes, but it was a DEI hire apparently. And so Karen Bass put all that in place. Karen Bass cut the funding. Karen Bass invented the bridge homes. You heard her say bridge home. You know what that is? Giving you an REI tent to sleep next to a freeway, says in a tent underneath the bridge, so when it rarely rains, and when it does rain in LA, you don't get rained on. Those are the programs. And so talking about all this, $1 million condos, Karen Bass was a Marxist trying to build a socialist LA where we build everything for you. And guess what? Now, a year from re-election, suddenly Karen Bass, gets religion. And comes back with this budget. But guess what? All of her Marxist buddies on the city council, you know what they said? No. You may be running for re-election, but we're still Marxist, and there's still more of us, and we're changing this, and we're voting the other way. And that's what the city council did. Welcome to Moscow, California.
Adam.
Look, brace for impact because I'm going to offend some people that love California. I don't give two shits about California at this point. I mean, I used to go there every summer for 10 years. And then during COVID, I stopped going. And to see what Los Angeles, San Francisco, California has turned into, good luck, figure it out. I mean, there's a part of me that's like, burn it down and start over. Oh, that almost happened. So the taxes, the cost of living, the unaffordability of the housing, the homelessness, not homelessness, the unhoused, because I don't want to offend anybody right there, the budget concerns, the regulations, the mental health, the stepping over drugs and poop in the streets, the actual poop maps, the crime, the mental health, the fires almost burned down your city. And I'm here in Miami and like, why should I care about what you got going on at all? Because you want to do the same thing, you want to have the same policies, you want to elect the same officials, you want the same people. And what's the definition of insanity? Doing the same thing over and over and over again and expecting different results? Excuse me if I just enjoy the free state of Florida and love living in Miami and wish you the best in California. I don't give a shit.
Yeah, I mean, thank you for your sentiment.
Yeah.
That was very emotional
is.
and powerful and life-changing and encouraging. But,
Anyway, I'll be in LA this weekend if you want to come check me out at the LA Improv.
You know what is crazy, though? It's crazy when liberals start fighting liberal policies, realizing those liberal policies are what destroyed their liberal city. And Tracy Park is a Democrat.
Yep.
That supported a lot of these policies, that's got the state to be in the situation that's in right now. And can you go to her Wikipedia? Let me just read to see what her background is, because that talk she just gave was powerful. Zoom in a little bit. Okay, American politician had certain member of LA City for 11, having entered a race to challenge Mike Owen, that became foreign runner, open some civil rights. Park was raised in Downey, California, Apple Valley, California. Her mother was a school secretary. Park graduated Johns Hopkins University in 1997, bachelor's degree in history out of Loyola Law School. Okay, she went to good school. So Georgetown, 2009. Brooklyn Sorensen law firm, public entities. Park entered politics in 2020 when she organized to block the city of LA from converting a Ramada Inn in her street into housing Ramada Inn for homeless people. In July of 2021, Park announced her candidacy LA Council, hoping to unseat to popular Mike Bonin. After Bonin announced his retirement, the seat became open with Aaron Darling becoming the progressive candidate in the race. Both Darling and Park advanced to the general election, with Park narrowly beating Darling in the result. Park was a registered Republican before switching to the Democratic Party years prior to her campaign. During the campaign, criticized Park for representing City of Anaheim. Okay, so she, Anaheim City employee who accused. Yeah, she went the other way. So she
basically said, I can't get elected as a Republican, so let me convert to a Democrat, but keep my same policies and mindset. And then when I'm in there and I'm a Democrat now, I'm going to go scorched earth on all you idiots.
Go a little bit lower.
And that's what she's doing.
And she's always voted not to use public dollars or make dumb decisions about homelessness. She voted in favor of an ordinance and measure which aimed to curtail homeless encampments by banning sitting, sleeping, storing property within 500 feet of schools. Because it was people, it was stink, it was filth, it was drug addicts, and she didn't want them near schools. And they were going to use open playgrounds, put supplemental fencing there so that you could have the school over here, and then we're going to sacrifice half of this giant playground.
What is her relationship with Caruso? Does she have a relationship with Caruso? Because I know Caruso's a Republican, acting like a Democrat, just so he could potentially win.
Yeah, that's what you got to do.
Can you see what is the relationship between Tracy Park? Is there a connection with Tracy Park and what's Caruso's first name?
Rick.
Oh, Rick's Caruso.
Rick Caruso.
I'm thinking of Alex Caruso, who's playing in the NBA Finals tonight. My bad.
Rick Caruso, who's a stud, by the way.
Yeah.
There's no public dynamic in which I'm looking at something back to Tracy Parker, Republican, later Rick Caruso, lifelong Republican, switched to Democrat. So both of them did the same thing.
Yeah, you got to do the switcheroo.
Both of them went from the Republican to the Democratic side.
It's like the political version of being trans.
Wow.
Is you got to make the conversion in order to get in there, and then when you're in there,
you don't fully cut it off. Like they're
don't cut it.
Oh, in California, you may have to.
They haven't cut it off yet.
It's just cross-dressing to get into the club.
There
That's
you
what
go.
it is.
Exactly.
All right.
Tom knows all about that. Great metaphor.
Some people have
I
limits.
grew up in L.A., the things you had to do.
Yeah.
What did you do exactly, Tom?
All right, let me go to this next story here. Completely made up. Chris Cuomo shrugs off illegal immigrants murdering Americans as artificial issue. This was a few days ago. Vinny, we never reacted to, but I want to play this clip that, here's a clip, Cuomo before and after. Go ahead, Rob.
We are fighting over culture issues and controversies that are completely made up. We divide this country over a single homicide of somebody, and it's absolutely wrong. What happened to Laken Riley is horrible. It's one too many, any way you want to look at it. But it is also an artificial issue. Of course, these actions are against the law. Of course, they're not what we want to see.
Talk about George Floyd.
But we in the majority cannot allow ourselves to be corrupted by toxic talk about the correct way to express that pain. Please don't just see the death of George Floyd. See all of it. Yes, this one is on video. And yes, it's so obvious. So that you can say, well, this one I get. It's not just this one.
I love Chris, but he is literally a walking contradiction. And if he sees this, Chris, I love you to death, but come on. From all the stuff from Russia collusion to COVID to calling unvaccinated people the real enemies. And it's like, how dare you say some stupid shit like this is a made up cultural issue and it shouldn't divide us over a single homicide. He's talking about Lake and Riley. Okay, first of all, after he says this, days later, and you guys know this, an illegal immigrant in Boulder, Colorado, started chucking Molotov cocktails and a flamethrower at Holocaust survivor women. Do you guys let's all get there, okay? That the Biden administration let in, okay? This isn't a cultural issue. These are just facts, okay? Americans are dying. Families are being destroyed. The only reason it isn't bigger, and this is my opinion, is that the elites, the Democrat elites, just like Chris, and Chris is one of the elites, they haven't had any of this shit happen to their daughters or their wives. And I'm saying this, God forbid, and I hope God, and I hope Key understands what I'm saying. God forbid something like this, Pat, happens to one of Chris's daughters or Chris's mom. They get the same fate as Lake and Riley, who's jogging and whatever, and then they get, beaten and raped and all that type of stuff, okay? I guarantee you change it, and it's not going to be a single homicide at this point, okay? And just to prove my point even more, on May 2nd in Lancaster, South Carolina, 6 illegals. This is recent. This is just recent, May 2nd, last month. 6 illegals aged 13 to 21 shot and killed a mother during a failed robbery. After they murdered her, they texted, "Mission failed," and then said, This is just the beginning. The same group was tied to a burglary days earlier, and they used the same gun. No remorse, no accountability. And this is recent as well. Florida cops just arrested a 37-year-old illegal for molesting teen girls that the Biden administration handed over as part of their so-called unaccompanied minor policy. Okay, these kids were placed in homes of random adults. So no DNA test, no ID check, none of that shit, no criminal background, just hook up for a picture of some foreign ID texted and a rubber stamp. That's how these people are working, okay? This is that mindset, and I don't understand how you can say something like it's a single issue. How many times during Biden's administration we heard of American children, American women getting either beat or raped by illegals? And he's saying it's a single issue. Shame on you, Chris. Shame on you for saying some stupid shit like that. And I hate to be the guy to say it. These people talk like this, Pat, because it's never happened to anybody in their family. Same, I told you, I said this story before. My cousin, he was they're pro open border, let everybody come in. Then they get rear-ended by an illegal that had no insurance. God forbid one of my cousin's kids got freaking hurt or something. And these people act like it's nothing.
What happened there? What happened with your cousin?
No, they got rear-ended, but the attitude was like, nah, like the attitude changes. The attitude changes. They still support the open border, but they're like, these things happen. I have insurance.
Do we have a wider clip of what he says, Rob? I want the context on how he breaks it down.
Yep, this is a 52-second clip.
Let me hear this one, because it's kind of like, I want to make sure it's not like there's good people on both sides. I want to hear that. Go for it.
Change how I feel about the parties. They are the problem. They are the root of this binary battle to the bottom. The division is almost exclusively manufactured. We are fighting over culture issues and controversies that are completely made up. We divide this country over a single homicide of somebody, and it's absolutely wrong. What happened to Lake and Riley is horrible. It's one too many, any way you want to look at it. But it is also an artificial issue.
Really?
We have crime issues in this country. Our homicide problem is not from illegal immigrants, okay? Yeah, but there shouldn't be any. There shouldn't be any of a lot of things that we haven't made a top priority. The division is manufactured.
This is, by the way, this is the same guy on the PBD podcast in front of Candace Owens that said, no, we don't need to check IDs to vote. This is the problem. This is the problem. So that is in the context. How is it an issue that's dividing? We've been asking for a closed border. His party is pro-open border, okay? And I don't care which president, it could be Stephen A., whoever comes in. Pat, let me ask you a question. Stephen A., AOC, Bernie Sanders, Jasmine Crockett, they come in. Do they open the border? Is that one of their first priorities? Is, you know what? We're a country. We're open to everybody. Do they open the border back up and reverse Trump?
First of all, Stephen A. doesn't win, okay, on the Democratic side. Because
if he does, you don't think they're going to tell him?
Hang on a second.
Okay.
You ask the question, I'll give you the answer. Stephen A. Smith doesn't win because they want the borders to be opened to get additional voters in the future. AOC, Bernie, Newsom, Crockett, Pritzker, all of those guys open the border. Okay? All of those guys open the border. Tom, how do you process this with Chris on the video before and after? Because, you know, George Floyd divided America in a way that now WNBA is celebrating the 5-year anniversary of George Floyd's, you know, overdose and, you know, the whole, 9 minutes and, you know, all that stuff, right? But how do you process Chris going from where he was at back in the days, the clip, to now where it's at with Laken Riley?
Yeah, so I see a couple things here. And we've spoke to Chris on camera, off camera, had a lot of conversations with him. So he is talking about some stats. And the stats he's talking about are out there that say that the immigrants that come to this country, there is a lower percent of certain violent crimes than, maybe in communities of color in downtown cities where there's color on color violence going on in downtown cities. Okay, he's right. He's right. If you want to look at downtown Cleveland and gangs and black on black violence, unfortunately, tragically, the percent of people involved in crime is greater than the percent of people involved in crime if you take this, a number of immigrants and you analyze it. The issue is so that he may be right. And I think he's also right that the two parties are trying to split us on issues and use any issue as a wedge. But I think what Americans are incensed about, that Chris really needs to embrace, is George Floyd was used as a wedge to give an excuse, and it was a funded summer riot campaign against conservatives. It was a funded summer riot. It was like a concert tour where they were funded and Antifa and what happened. And so we're all supposed to now sit back. So I see what Chris is doing. It's easy to come afterwards and say, hey, it's a single issue. Lincoln Riley, it shouldn't have happened. But we're being split by political forces on this issue. He's right about that. However, when you open the borders and bring it in and the trafficking has happened, I don't need to wait for a violent crime by an immigrant to know that the drug trafficking and the human trafficking and the abuse of children that's going on there that may not show up in murder stats is a hell of a reason to close the border and to protect the kids that are showing up at the border. Where did you come from and why are you here? So that's kind of where I'm at. I see where Chris is going, but what the crime that's come across the border, you can talk about violent crime, but the crime that's come across the border and what's happened with the drugs and the kids and the trafficking, it's huge.
And Tom, you nailed it. It's like it's a single homicide thing. Like the open border policy that the last, I'm not even going to call it Biden because he had nothing to do with it.
If Lincoln Riley is a single homicide, if Lincoln Riley is a single issue, is a single homicide issue, then George Floyd is a single homicide issue. Yeah, and there were wedges used. Right? If you want to make that argument.
Yeah, but great point. But he wasn't saying that. And what I'm saying is, Tom, like it wasn't just her. Every single week we were hearing about it and hearing about it and hearing about it. And then to say stuff like, we don't need to check ID to vote. That gives the government more control. And then, Pat, we're going to get into these other stories. Like just the fentanyl alone, hundreds of thousands of Americans have died every single year since Biden came in. And that's not a problem. And then what was it? Was it Washington Post? Please correct me if I'm wrong. Who just said that it was mysteriously the fentanyl deaths have declined? Who was that? And then the White House press secretary was talking crap. They said it's mysteriously coming down. And then we're going to talk about the Chinese nationals that are bringing in shit. It's like, what? How can you utter those words that it's a single issue? No. It was an invasion, and we still haven't even tasted. We've gotten hints of how bad it is. Wait until the real people that were giving cell phones, the real terrorists, are doing what the hell they're doing. Okay, because even Tom
you don't have to wait because they invaded apartments in Colorado outside of
Trinidad,
Aurora.
In Aurora,
was it Aurora?
Yeah.
But and then the sheriff. sheriff or the chief of police said, no, it's a little bit overblown because the governor apparently told them to stand down.
Yeah,
but
he did.
now later it was no, it really was happening. It did happen.
Yeah,
they have a base of operation in their trafficking in drugs.
Yeah.
You good, Tom?
Yeah.
Okay. Let me weigh in on this, Chris. Let me talk some sense to my friend Chris Cuomo for a second. All right, Chris, you're actually absolutely right because the numbers don't lie. Tom, words talk, numbers scream. Basically, he's saying that the media or these stories have been manufactured. They've been artificially made up. They kind of have, bro.
That's a made up story. Like
so hold on, tough guy. Let me finish my point, and then you could start yelling. Rest in peace, Laken Riley. Horrible. But if you actually just follow the numbers, immigrants, illegal, documented, undocumented, whatever you want to call it, are actually twice less likely to commit crime or go to jail than the average American citizen. So it's almost like this. Remember when we had the guy on who basically said, I ran all the stats about cops murdering black people. Turns out it's just actually not true. This was a black Harvard professor, right? And it was, this guy, Roland Fryer. And all his colleagues were like, dude, don't put this data out there. And he goes, well, let me run it back again to double check my work. And he ran it back again. And what did he find out? Turns out that police officers aren't just murdering, mowing down black people in the United States. The problem is this. Native-born Americans, American citizens, are actually twice as likely to commit crimes and go to jail than illegal immigrants. However, that is not me justifying having open borders, wanting illegal citizens running around here, not building the wall. I think we still need to do that. But this is the whole thing about villainizing immigrants. They're all coming in here and they're killing everybody. No, these are one-off incidents. So, for instance, I'll give you one more example. Remember when Trump came out there and said, they're eating the dogs, they're eating the cats, they're eating the animals. Have we heard anything more about that since the day he was elected? No, because it actually wasn't true. And here's my point. These are all very freaking emotional things. Very freaking emotional. You don't think that Laken Riley, when something like that happens, doesn't pull at everyone's heartstrings? He goes, what the fuck is going on here? I could totally understand why you would get completely angry. I totally understand why you're the angry patriot. But if you watch the local news every day, which I rarely do, there's something said that there's a famous phrase that says, if it bleeds, it leads. Go watch the local news. 7 people were murdered in Chicago today, and now to Rick with sports. There was a murder in downtown LA. 2 homeless men game raped a dog. And back to you, Chuck, with the weather. Like, this is happening every single day in America, in every single city. And just no big deal, no big deal, no big deal. But when something happens to an illegal immigrant, sound the alarm. Just like when Tom highlighted black on black crime in certain cities.
I'm really trying to see what you're saying.
I'm so
saying.
Hang on, let me.
I'll be very freaking clear.
Yeah, do so.
Chris
I
is
want to know more
correct.
about the poor dog in Los
Chris
Angeles.
is correct.
Yeah.
These are, in a way, manufactured issues.
Oh, man.
They are real issues, but they're not all that common.
Yeah.
But I totally understand why people get emotional about this.
It's
okay. So
Run this one stat. Are native-born citizens twice as likely to commit crimes than immigrants?
Okay, we have...
Just
Adam,
find the stat.
Okay, find the stat.
Can I ask you a question?
Sure.
Do you realize how much contradictions there is in what you just said?
No, I'm being
No. Let me put it to you
What's
this
the
way.
contradiction?
So, this is so funny what I'm about to say. So you're saying Native Americans are
I'm not saying Indian American. I'm saying
I know.
Citizens.
Native Americans are more likely to commit a crime than illegal immigrants.
Yes.
Yes?
To be arrested. To be arrested
Hang
for
on.
a crime.
No, crime.
And you're about to say, well, entering the country is already a crime.
Bingo.
That's a crime.
I agree.
They're a criminal.
So, by
I
the
said
way,
I'm not for open
FYI,
borders. I
Adam,
want to shut it down.
Adam,
But to act like they're murdering everybody when they enter the
Nobody
country
said murdering
is
everybody.
ridiculous.
Nobody even said that.
What is this? What is this stat?
100% of illegal immigrants commit crimes.
Period.
That's it. End of discussion.
Okay.
No. 100% of illegal immigrants commit crime.
By entering our country illegally.
That's illegal.
I agree with you.
You're a criminal.
I agree with you.
Okay.
But
So
that
by
doesn't
the
mean
way,
they're raping people
I didn't say
or
that
killing
technically.
people.
That's a crime.
I agree.
Perfect.
I'm not gonna fight you on that.
But the part on what I'm trying to understand his position and your position and Cuomo's position. I have a relationship with all of you guys, and I'm trying to see what
Cuomo and I pretty much have the same position on this.
In this topic.
That it is manufactured that they're out here
There's only one problem.
killing people.
There's only one problem.
That they shouldn't be here in the first place.
There's only one problem.
Yes.
You know what the problem is?
Tell me.
Okay. Adam, when you
here we go.
couldn't stand Trump, and you voted for Biden, and you voted against Trump twice, you voted for Hillary, and you voted for Biden.
Yeah.
Okay. And then eventually, something happened, and you flipped.
Yeah, same with a lot of people.
No. Hear me where I'm going with this.
Yeah.
This is the part that you know you're going to get some credit. What ended up happening with you?
Cut this clip, guys. Go
Why?
ahead.
No, actually, turn off the.
We're going dark.
Turn the audio off. Make Jake have some audio issues in the background. Yeah. No. What ended up why the audience was with you? The position they took is, at least he came out and said it. I was wrong.
Yeah.
The biggest thing with Cuomo is, you know how he could have been, the difference could have been there, what my understanding what Winnie's trying to say. If Cuomo would have said, I fell for the trap of George Floyd, and I was a part of it, and I was wrong.
Yeah.
And I'm
By the way, I
challenging.
didn't comment on George Floyd at all. That to me is a separate issue.
By the
Go
way,
ahead.
what did they do with George Floyd when it happened?
It was
CNN and all that stuff. It was like end of the
George
world.
Floyd is BLM. It's a lie.
But
It's gays for Gaza. It's all one big fabrication.
The point
Yes.
is the fact that he's coming out now saying this. It would have landed in a different way if he would have said, I was wrong.
Yeah.
And I would ask for people from the other side to also receive this, even though it's a sensitive topic. For example, you ever seen when MLK got shot, the Bobby Kennedy speech? Rob, can you pull up the Bobby Kennedy speech when Bobby Kennedy Jr.'s father, when MLK was assassinated, the first person that announced it to the public was Bobby Kennedy.
Yeah.
And this speech is unbelievable.
Because he was Attorney General at the point?
It was unbelievable. Right there, announcing it. Right there, Rob, if you can play this. Okay? Let it keep going. Let the ad go. Have
you seen this guy?
Pause this. Audio, so we don't hear it. Okay. Now go there. Okay. Watch this. Watch this. This is the speech that he gives. Okay? This is in Indianapolis. It's riveting. And the reaction of the people when he announces is so freaking emotional. It's so emotional. Because look at the date. What's the date when MLK got shot? 68, I want to say.
Was the 4th?
Watch this. I believe that's his brother, Ted.
Yeah.
Watch. Come on.
It's coming.
There it is.
On the back of a flatbed
truck.
I have some very sad news for all of you.
First person
and
releasing
I think sad news for all of our fellow citizens.
to the people in Indianapolis.
And people who love peace all over the world. And that is that Martin Luther King was shot and was killed tonight in Memphis, Tennessee.
They don't know Vinny.
Martin Luther King dedicated his life to love and to justice between fellow human beings. He died in the cause of that effort. In this difficult day, in this difficult time for the United States, it's perhaps well to ask what kind of a nation we are and what direction we want to move in. For those of you who are black, considering the evidence evidently is that there were white people who were responsible, you can be filled with bitterness and with hatred and a desire for revenge. We can move in that direction as a country, in greater polarization, black people amongst blacks, and white amongst whites, filled with hatred toward one another. Or we can make an effort, as Martin Luther King did, to understand and to comprehend and replace that violence that stain of bloodshed that is spread across our land with an effort to understand, compassion, and love. For those of you who are black
it's coming up,
and are tempted to be filled with hatred and
no teleprompter,
mistrust of the injustice of such an act
pure heart
against all white people, I would only say that I can also feel in my own heart the same kind of feeling. I had a member of my family killed.
His brother.
But he was killed by a white man. But we have to make an effort in the United States.
This is what we need today.
We have to make an effort to understand, to get beyond or go beyond these rather difficult
This
times.
message lands.
My favorite poem, my favorite poet was Aeschylus. He once wrote, even in our sleep, pain which cannot forget falls drop by drop upon the heart, until in our own despair, against our will, comes wisdom through the awful grace of God.
Awful grace of God.
What we need in the United States is not division. What we need in the United States is not hatred. What we need in the United States is not violence and lawlessness, but is love and wisdom and compassion toward one another, feeling of justice toward those who still suffer within our country, whether they be white.
And then they killed him. And then they killed him.
But you know what but it doesn't matter. The message is the message that the country needs. That's the message that we need. And the biggest challenge with Cuomo, coming from a very decorated family in politics, one of the biggest in New York. I don't know who you put ahead of his family in New York. 3-time governor, 3 terms, both. Father, son, him, CNN, TV. It's a decorated family politically in New York. The only thing with Chris that I always give him the feedback, hey man, people just want to hear you say one magical thing.
Sorry.
I was wrong.
Yep.
I was wrong. And by the way, everything changes with the messaging, because the landing of the message, where a guy like you that wants to like him, I know you like him.
I like him a lot.
But you hear something pisses you off, you're like, dude, what are you doing? What's this all about? And so that's the complexity of these types of issues that you're dealing with, because the reality of it is, George Floyd, you can go look at the data on what happened with him. With his background, track record, what he did. Him, Laken Riley. Laken Riley, what did she do?
Nothing.
You know, and you go back and both of them, what did it do? One of them caused ruckus and chaos in America, destroyed it. Why? Because they needed it. You know, it's an extremely emotional story on 2 different communities. So I understand what you're saying. But the reality of it is, when I hear that comment about illegal immigrants commit less crime than the ones, it's like, no. Illegal immigrants, 100% of them commit crimes, because it's against the law to come here illegally, period. Not saying, hey, wouldn't you have done it if you had kids and you had a better life to come to America? Most likely. But what I'm saying to you is, it's still a what?
Crime.
It's still a crime. So we can twist that any way we want. The stats don't favor the people that bring those stats up. All right, let's go to the next story here. Next story I want to go to is Dave Portnoy. What happened with Dave Portnoy? He was doing it with rap. I saw a clip of it. Was he out there doing a pizza review and something happened, and then on their podcast, you know, one thing about Dave, he's going to always get the eyeballs. People are always wanting to. I think that's the one right there. First do the 32-second one.
Yeah, in the jacket. This was a
that's
pizza
one right
review.
there. Yeah, it's a nice jacket.
He's
actually.
calling
Watch
this old school terrazza. One bite, everybody knows the rules. We didn't get here the first time. Place is very cool on the inside. We got Frankie Lazzani's whole story, which almost seemed borderline not believable. Like, see, there we go. There we go. What are you guys fucking laughing about? Terrible. Exactly. So here we go. One bite, everybody knows the
you
rules.
can pause that right there. And then what's the next one, Rob? Is that he's doing a podcast?
Yep. here he is fighting with one of his employees.
So can you tell me who this is? Because this I don't know.
This is unnamed. It's called the Unnamed Show.
Yeah.
And the Barstool host, his name is Kirk Minihane.
The guy on the right.
The guy on the right. And Rob, from what Rob's saying, Rob, this is a pretty popular podcast. I don't follow anything from Barstool.
Yeah, I believe he's the only Barstool employee that has like an actual background in broadcasting. He was a longtime Boston radio host. I believe he either got fired or quit a few years ago and joined Barstool. And he and Dave, every time I watch their clips, they interact great together. This is the first time I've seen this type of head-to-head.
And is this the long one, Rob? This is the 4-minute one? So, because Rob, I'll give you some context just to see how it starts. So there's a guest named Mick who mocked Portnoy by calling him Rabbi Dave, trying to be funny, trying to be whatever, and called out his hypocrisy for condemning anti-Semitic speech while pointing back to Portnoy's own past for saying way worse, which I'll get into. But this is a clip and how it kind of built up and progressed from there.
Go for it, Rob.
I think right now you probably
nothing.
Don't do
nothing. Silence everything.
What do you?
Every comedian, don't tell a joke about it because Dave, that's how the world works. I agree with you.
Go back to your question. When does freedom of speech impinge?
That was your
freedom
question,
of
not
religion?
mine. That was your question. Not
Answer it.
How many deaths?
Yeah.
I don't have an answer.
Like how in America, American citizens.
What's your answer to that question?
Now.
Okay, we're there.
Now.
So now what? So now what do we do?
So maybe you stop with the fucking Jew jokes and act like it's not a big deal when someone does fuck the Jews in a bar.
Or no, here's the thing. I'm with you 1,000% on that. You should have fucking kicked those people out. Of course you should.
I'm not talking about kicking them out. I'm talking about.
You want to go to jail? Like what do you want? Like. Those guys,
you are defending this guy Mick for what he said right after that happened. He's not anti-Semitic.
I'm not defending him. No,
if your brain goes in,
I'm not defending him, Dave.
Anti-Semitic.
What I'm saying is you should have him on here or somebody else like that and fucking fight with them because then you have a conversation.
That's what this idiot wants.
Dave, these guys that wrote the thing at the bar, fuck the Jews, right?
Yes.
You're going to fucking fly them to Auschwitz. Some guy tweets at you something. You want to fucking... He's not... You can't come on
it was a bar I owned. It was a bar I owned.
They should have been kicked out. So, but my thing is...
No, it's not just kick out, Kirk. Are you ignoring what's going on in the world
right now?
No,
I'm not. What, Dave, what do you want to do with those guys? What do you want to do? What do you want to do with those guys in the bar? Put them in jail for 50 years? Fine. I don't care.
I didn't
they're
say
assholes.
that. You're quite literally changing everything you say, Kirk. If you just want me to kick him out, not mention it, not care that this kid is anti-Semitic, shut up. If you just want me to ignore it,
don't tell me to shut up.
Shut the fuck up, you bald fuck.
Okay, go ahead.
How's that?
Oh, it's kill. I'll never recover from that, Dave. Go ahead, continue. I'll never recover.
Well, you're the one who big boss man, don't tell. I'll tell you, you work for me.
Okay, go ahead, continue.
You little bitch, you work for me.
Sure.
For now, quit. I don't care.
Is this show or not a show? Like, is a show or not a show? Like, we can't have a conversation?
You're an idiot.
Okay,
you're literally saying people should be allowed to make Jew jokes, say whatever they want right fucking now.
Yes, I think people should be allowed to make jokes.
So how many motherfucking Jews have to be killed before you stop?
That I don't think.
What else? Where else is that happening with the religion or people?
I don't think those psychopaths. I'm with you. There's
pause it right there. Okay, Vinny, thoughts?
Okay, well, first of all, I understand. I understand where he's coming from. You can see, the stuff that's happening on Harvard and all these campuses. But what the other guy's trying to say, what was his name, Robbie?
Kirk Minihane.
Kirk is saying, making jokes, calling him Rabbi Dave. I'm sorry. This is why this country is the greatest country, because you have freedom of speech. And speaking of freedom of speech, Rob, can you play? This is a clip, Pat. By the way, Dave Portnoy doesn't want the jokes or anything to happen that has to do against the Jews. I'm sorry. This is a country where you could say, to hell with the Jews, to hell with the blacks, to hell with the Middle Easterns. You could call Middle Easterns terrorists, that aren't terrorists, that are Christians. Guess what? This is where we live. We don't live in England where a Facebook post could have the cops show up to your house, okay? This is him. This is him talking about Colin Kaepernick and Arabic people and saying that he thought he was ISIS. Can you just play this one real quick, Robbie?
Colin Kaepernick not standing for the national anthem. This has become a huge story. So I'm going to say something that's racist.
Look, he's
but I don't think it's racist. I don't think if you think something and don't say or act upon it, you can be called a racist.
But you're saying it. But you're going to say it.
I'm going to say it. When I heard this story, I didn't read it. I didn't know why he was saying there. I was like, oh, he's an ISIS guy.
Okay.
Like, that was my original thought. Because he kind of looks like...
Look, they're laughing.
He is
It's a
very
joke.
confusing.
Look,
He is very confusing. I will give you that. I immediately
throw a head wrap on this guy and he's terror.
Wait, you thought he was not standing for the national anthem because he wanted to, like, kill all Americans?
No, I thought he maybe had some terrorist Arabic.
Okay. All right, Rob, that's what, and this goes on for a little while. And then, Pat, this is him. By the way, and again, we're talking about jokes. We're not talking about go and giving an action like to go kill the Jews, okay? He's talking, and by the way, this is what his thoughts are on doing rape jokes. Play this one, Rob.
You posted the following on your site. I never condone rape, but if you're a size 6 and you're wearing skinny jeans, you kind of deserve to be raped.
Correct.
He said it.
I stand by that.
Okay.
I think it's a funny joke.
Joke, funny.
You think rape is funny?
No, I didn't say that. I think it's a funny joke.
Do you understand how offensive that is?
No, I obviously don't.
Okay, and then, but we don't have to get into it. He also posted a naked photo of Tom Brady's 2-year-old son with a vile comment about kids' genitals. We'll get all past that, okay? He didn't defend Jews. He didn't defend morality. He defended his ego, okay? Then he publicly humiliated his own employee, which I am shocked. The guy is making $500,000 a year. If you still work for that guy, for a boss that talks to you like that, you're a sucker, okay? There's absolutely no way any grown man, I don't care what your position is, talks to somebody else just like that, okay? You can't build your brand, Dave, and say whatever you want and then lose your mind when somebody else says the same thing. Calling you Rabbi Dave isn't something for you to flip out. And because my question is, what do you want? You want to ban people to make fun of Jewish people? No, that's what America is. People make jokes about everybody all the time. We're in the military. We made fun of each other. All the black, the Middle Eastern, and the white and the Spanish jokes were all the time. They were jokes. Nobody's calling to action. If you're calling for people to die, that's a whole different conversation. But for a guy that's the guy Mick saying Rabbi Dave, and for him to lose
Let me
his
ask you a question. What jokes would still piss you off?
Meaning what?
Like, you know, you tell an Armenian motherfucker to an Armenian, it's like you're meres kafrtumes.
Yeah.
And I have to hurt you. Like that's the Armenian.
Yeah.
Like you can.
Well, that's not a joke. That you're trying to. Those are
you
fighting
know,
words.
No. You know mama's jokes?
Yeah.
You can't do Armenian mama's jokes.
Of course not.
No, but what
Why
I'm
not?
saying to you is, you what?
Why not?
Do it.
Oh,
No,
Armenians don't play games.
I'm asking you a question.
They don't play games.
I'm telling you.
I don't know how Armenians
go to
joke.
Glendale,
Yeah.
do mama's jokes with Armenians.
It's over.
See what
What's
happens.
going to happen?
I'll pay for it.
I'm not going to go, but what would happen?
I know.
What happens if I walked around in Glendale with a F your Armenian mother sign?
You're going to get fought.
Oh, bro,
so
you're going to need
I'm
dental.
telling you what Armenians
so
do.
you wouldn't be a fan of that?
I didn't say that. No, hold on.
Hey, these are jokes.
You're putting words in my mouth.
Vinny, these are
Let
jokes,
me-
You're
buddy.
putting words in my
Stop.
mouth.
Let
Go
me
ahead.
make my point.
Go ahead.
What jokes would really bother you?
Me personally?
Yes.
Nothing bothers me as a comedian if you're trying to tell jokes. If you're trying, hold on, two different things, Pat. If you're just trying to piss me off and trying to push a button to fight, that's one thing. If you're telling jokes to be funny, nothing offends me. I'm a comedian by heart. Nothing. If you're just, Pat, if you're just saying, hey, Vinny, F your mother and I hope she does, that's okay. Then you're trying to fight me. You're not trying to be funny.
I'm not saying that. Like to me, you know, there's certain things in people's lives that's the hill they're willing to die on, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, you have that. You're a pride man, meaning not pride, the negative pride. You have a lot of positive pride in your heritage. Very. Syrians love you.
Mm-hmm.
You're very proud to be a Syrian. You know, your mother. No one can say anything about your mom. No one. You adore your mom. You worship the ground she walks on. I see how you're with your mom. Vinny's mom's here. He doesn't let his mom cook or do anything while he's here. Like, that's how amazing of a guy Vinny is, right? So all I'm trying to understand is when I see him lose his shit like that, you know what I realize? That's the one thing that he loses his emotions. He loses his shit. And by the way, you have the right to say, yeah, but you said this and you said this. You have a good argument. But then the other side is as well, he has this thing where it's like, no, you don't cross the line with this. Okay, great. By the way, to get to the point of saying we have to, what do you call it? Prevent all speech and joke about all this stuff? No. you can't do that. Some of the funniest jokes I've heard is when Middle Easterns get up there and tell jokes about terrorism and all this other stuff, and it's just funny when you hear like. Even when we were at the Rogan's comedy club, there was one Middle Eastern guy that was on the stand-up with glasses. I don't know what his name was, with the beard. Funny as
guy.
hell.
Yeah.
And he told Middle Eastern jokes. He made fun of the Middle Eastern community and bombing and all this other stuff, right? But I get it. I get the fact that for him, it's something that's extremely sensitive for Dave Portnoy at a season like this. Adam, for you, how do you process this?
Well, when I used to do stand-up comedy, I had one rule. It's not racist if you make fun of everybody. Blacks, whites, Jews, Catholics, Christians, Muslims, Mexicans, I don't care. Anyone can get it. It's only racist if you're like, you know who I hate? Those Mexicans. I hate them. You know who I hate? Those blacks. You know who I hate? Those Jews. When you start singling out groups, it doesn't become funny anymore. It doesn't become ha, 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 ha. If I walked around Glendale with a sign, F your Armenian mom, you just told me I wouldn't leave
Rob,
Glendale
can you
alive.
do me a favor?
Yeah, make that sign
Armenians,
for me.
if you're watching this, do me a favor, okay? His Minnects are $18, okay? Can you please do me a favor? That's his QR code. There's a contest. Come compete for it anyways and come to the lounge. Let's have dinner. Can Armenians please Minnect Adam and tell him what you would do to him if he went out there said something about your mom as a joke? Can you please? And by the way, Assyrians, it's mainly that Armenian Assyrian blood.
All five of you Assyrians,
make a joke about their moms and see what happens. It's like a reaction.
Hey, Armenians, F your mom. And Assyrians, F your dad.
Oh, shit.
So, by the way,
all the security on the way out here. They're gonna.
By the way,
Armenians will be here 30 minutes from Glendale.
Bring out a sign right now that says F the Jews. These are jokes.
And if you're a dentist that does reconstructive dental work, send it to Tom and I'll refer it to Adam.
Oh, my God.
So, listen, I believe in free speech. I don't think anybody should be silenced. I don't think anybody should be censored. But on one hand, if you talk trash about Armenians, you're not going to leave Glendale alive. But go ahead and F the Jews worldwide. All good. No big deal. It's not like it's leading to people being murdered at embassies or people being set on fire in Colorado. Yeah. These are jokes, guys. F the Jews. I would wonder what would happen if a black guy was doing a pizza review and someone drove by and goes, F the blacks. What? Remember, there was a whole thing, Stop Asian Hate. All right. F the Latinos. No, to me, these are not jokes. This is disgusting. And I would say the exact same thing and stand up for blacks, Latinos, Asians, gays, Jews. It doesn't matter to me. If they said F the Muslims, I'd be the first person in line saying, no, that's not right. Because I have no issues with anybody other than extremists. I have no issue with Muslims. I have an issue with Islamic Jihad. I have no issues with Christians or Catholics. I have an issue with priests raping kids. Yeah, that's an issue. So you might think this is cute coming after the Jews right now, but I will die on this sword right here. It's coming for you Christians next. Straight the F up. And you guys better wake up. Let the Jews deal with what they're dealing with. But they're not coming after Jewish cities all around the world. They're coming after one Jewish city. That's Tel Aviv or Jerusalem. But are Muslims invading Christian cities or are Christians invading Muslim cities? I'll wait. Toronto, that's where that happened. London, Paris, Sydney, LA, Philly, New York. These are Christian cities.
Detroit.
Yep. These are Christian cities where they're burning down the American flag, calling for an intifada. So the Jews will deal with what they got to deal with. That's fine.
Tom,
but Christians,
how do you process this?
You better wake up.
How do you process this as a Jew yourself? Like, what do you think?
Yep.
Somebody get me the hat from Jake's desk, please. I want to have Tom wear it.
No. I do have an opinion.
Tom, how do you feel about Christian cities being invaded by Islamic Jihad?
It's bad. And actually, the most visible persecution on earth is the Jews. And it's the most visible. It's the most written about. But statistically speaking, the greatest persecution is against Christians.
You're right.
Go talk.
Facts, numbers.
Go talk to the people in
nobody
Darfur.
cares, buddy.
Correct. Nobody cares. But let me go back. Let me go back
so
to
you
the
do
start
something about it.
Yep. Let me go back to where the start of Dave Portnoy. Dave Portnoy is a satirist, a pundit, but he has a third rail. And third rail for him, and it's very emotional for him, is these issues of not just Jewish jokes, but this this assault. I mean, F the Jews outside of that pizza place. He's just doing his stand-up thing for pizza, and this guy comes by. I mean, that's bad. Now, for comedy, we have freedom of speech. We also have consequences. And we've seen guys walk up to the stage and confront comedians. We've seen comedians that were, punched in the mouth. And so we also have a consensus among comedians, and I've seen it discussed, that says, hey, look, if you go too far here, or here, part of the audience that's tasteless, you may be on the edge there. And what they're saying is, I got freedom of speech to be whatever comedy I want. But if you want to go here, or here, you might be careful, and you might better be, depending what your identity is and where you're coming from and what you're perceived, there may be consequences that come from the audience if someone is deeply offended by that. And that's the world in which we live. In terms of Dave Portnoy, I don't judge how he's talking to his employee. That's his employee. That's his show. He can go off if he wants to.
You said something very important 2 weeks ago, Tom. You said, have you noticed what happens to comedians as they age? Do you remember when you said that?
Yeah.
Can you share that with the audience? What happens to comedians when they age?
Yeah, they get bitter, and they get very, very iconoclastic and cold, and almost somber, right?
Why though?
I don't know, but and by the way, there's something else we can talk about. They talk about it in L.A. that the older comedians get, that you have depression and drug use rises. Even compared to the partying in their 20s, that it gets very dark for a lot of comedians later in life. And I mean this, Vinny, I'm being serious, not satiring here, is people talk about that the comedians get older and...
You know where I was going with this, though? Where I was going with this is the following, is if you build your brand on being a troll and a comic and a shock jock and, shit talker, don't be surprised when people attack you. That's your brand.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
You can't be surprised when that's part of your brand. If your name is Michael Jordan, you go in the game and you're talking shit to the opponent, guess what? You better be ready. Like, if your name is Gary Payton, you want to go out there. If your name is Conor McGregor, you're going to possibly eventually run into a Khabib, who's not that guy. Look how Khabib is. Khabib is not a comedian. He's not a promoter. He's not a guy that's doing that.
No, he's ice cold.
He's ice cold. And when you make fun of his religion, it's not a let's sell tickets pay-per-view. It's you cross the line. Right. I admire my dad. I'm going to destroy you, right? So to me, the conflict people have, in my opinion, with Portnoy is the fact that he's built his entire empire being that way. Now he's upset that he's getting it being, fed back to him.
100%. And I also, and Adam, I hope you're not pretending like Hollywood and the world doesn't mock Christians and Christianity in movies. And
no, it does.
No, hold on. It happens all the time.
Oh, yeah.
And so you don't say that it doesn't happen. People aren't losing their minds.
Yeah, but it's subtle.
No.
And I think you guys should actually do more about it.
Can I say my thing? No, but let's get to the main point
Christianity
of this.
is on the decline.
Well, guess what?
And Islam is on the rise.
You
guys are going to be irrelevant
and guess what I say?
In about 20 years.
I disagree because guess what? Bring it on. Bring it on. I hope that when that fight comes...
Don't talk to me.
No.
There's only 15 million Jews.
Adam,
there's 2 billion Muslims.
Guess what?
And there's 2.5 billion Christians.
There's a lot of Christians.
They're coming for your ass, buddy.
Well,
you deal with it.
But here's my point. And I know we want to end on the... we'll go to the next story. The Portnoy thing wasn't the F the Jew. What pissed him off, Adam, is somebody called in or whatever and said, Rabbi Dave, okay? That is a joke. And I don't care what Dave or
anybody... That's a funny joke.
No, I understand, but that's what triggered this.
No, it's the F the Jews that triggered it.
No. I'm reading from what the story was about. You didn't. The whole context was the guy Mick, who he's talking about. That's called him Rabbi Dave.
You think that's why he was upset?
That's what I'm just.
Are
saying.
You dumb?
I'm just saying.
He's mad about what's going on in the community.
Okay,
people being murdered.
Adam, but here's my.
I don't think he was mad about a stupid little joke. That's not why he was upset.
Do you think?
Don't make that argument.
Do you think I'm cool with somebody driving by and saying "F the Jews"? Do you think I'm cool with that?
I don't give a shit what you think. That's not what I'm asking.
Okay, no.
And I don't think you're cool with it.
And guess what?
But what
if
you
think I give a shit, even an ounce of what you give a shit about, because you're wrong 100% of the time.
Told me already.
Okay, you're wrong.
Nobody gives a shit what you think.
Way more than you're right. So let's move on to the next thing.
Because I've been right at least a couple times.
Do I defend
your ass.
the right of a person to say it and not go to jail? Yes, Adam, because I'm sorry. I'm a free speech absolutist. Period. You can say what you want.
Okay,
There's
so
consequences.
F the Assyrians.
Guess what? There's
What
consequences.
are the consequences?
There's consequences.
What's gonna happen?
You think I'm going to sit
F the
here
Assyrians.
and
What's
lose
gonna
my
happen?
mind?
What's
going
gonna
to
happen?
Adam,
What are you gonna do?
You're talking words.
What are you
Guess
gonna
who
do?
I am, Adam? I'm
What
a
are you gonna do?
Christian. I'm a
Okay,
Christian.
F the Christians.
I'm cool.
F the
I'm
Christians.
cool. Adam,
What are you
you'll
gonna
deal
do?
with it. Guess who you're going to deal with? Jesus Christ at one point.
Oh,
you're going to deal with God. Yeah,
Oh,
okay.
Lord.
Adam, mock him. Mock
No,
him.
but the point is,
Mock
I've
him.
never said that in my
Go
life.
to mock him. I don't
The point
care.
is, I've never said that in my
Adam,
life.
I
But
come
that is
from a
going
world-
around everywhere.
I come from a
And
world,
look
Adam,
how
where
emotional
people
you're
talk shit.
getting
When people
are
talk shit,
joking.
guess what?
I thought you were a comedian. You're getting very
I'm a
emotional.
comedian. When people talk shit, then you go deal with
so
it.
you don't like
Adam,
it.
Dave
Oh.
Portnoy's not going to fight anybody. But what does he want? Here's my question. Somebody goes up to Dave Portnoy in his face and goes, F the Jews. Let's just say somebody has the brash to go do it. What should happen to them, Adam? Go to jail? What do you want to happen? Dave should punch him in the face. But he's not a fighter. My point is, you can say what you want, but be able to deal with the consequences. That's it.
Okay.
Do you think it should be illegal to
So
say F the Jews or F the blacks?
If they were saying F the Assyrians all
What
around town, hear me out, and then people were murdering Assyrians, I'd love to hear what you say next.
Really?
Because I guarantee you would be like, listen, maybe we shouldn't joke about this anymore. And I think that's what Dave Portnoy is saying. It's like, I'm all for jokes. I'm all for saying stupid stuff. But when people start being killed because of your jokes, now we got a problem, homie. And don't act like these things aren't happening. Don't act like hate crimes aren't happening. And why is a Jewish guy in New York responsible for what Bibi Netanyahu is doing in Israel? There's no relevancy. That's like me going and punching a Catholic person in the face because some priest in Rome raped a kid. There's no correlation. But there's a very freaking slippery slope between I don't approve of Bibi's role to F the Zionists, to F Israel, to F the Jews in America. It's a slippery slope. Where do you draw the line here? So some random kid on campus going to school just because he's Jewish, all of a sudden it's like F you, F the Jews. The kid has probably never even been to freaking Israel. So if every Catholic has to pay the price for every stupid thing that the Vatican has done, wow, Catholics would be dealing with a lot of freaking things. And if every Muslim had to pay the price for every stupid thing Osama bin Laden did, there'd be a lot of issues. But it only works that way with the Jews these days, apparently. But that's just me.
Well, listen, I mean, if you go, we're going to go to Hollywood next, story-wise, but if you go and think about how many movies, shows, mainstream, have made fun of Christians versus Jews, it's not even close.
Oh no,
It's
you
not-
guys are a laughingstock.
Dogma.
And you're gonna sit there and take
Jesus
it.
Camp.
No, it's
How many
I'm not a
movies?
fan of it.
There's the black girl's going to play Jesus Christ
I think
here
it's
shortly.
disgusting that these atheists have teamed up with these jihadists to take over the world.
Yeah.
And you guys are just sitting there being like, okay, that's cool. Not you.
Adam,
I'm saying
I
Christians
get,
in general.
I get what you're saying, but the opposite argument to that would be Hollywood's been ran for Jews for decades.
Yeah, because
So
they started
you're-
Hollywood.
That's the point. But
Yeah.
guess
And
what?
who's making fun of Christians?
But guess what? Guess what they owned and controlled? The biggest platform to be able to send a message out to get people to think the way they want them to think. They've owned a very powerful tool. The moment they lost that is when social media and YouTube and all this stuff came out where it was now equal opportunity. And the game changed.
Yeah.
When
And that's
Netflix
fine.
and all
I
this
think
stuff
that's
came, and that's where the competition right now, the friction's a little bit higher. But however, going back to the point, is I don't think you mean to say anything about F the Christians. That's just something you were saying to take a shot at.
Zero. I've
Yeah, I
never
wanna
said
make sure
that in
we
my
clarified
life.
That. Yeah.
My point is this.
Yeah.
Doesn't feel good, does it?
Yeah.
You're getting a little emotional.
Let me
don't
tell
you?
Let me tell you what we are going to be doing, though. We are going to send Adam to Glendale for
Yeah.
a weekend. And just to see what's going to happen, and we're going to have Adam wear that shirt and Armenians. Go give him a message. Let him know how you feel about it if he says anything about Armenians and mothers. But that's the Armenian community. All right, let's go to
and
the
I'm
next
bring
story.
my Garshuk with me, guys.
Bring
Don't
your
worry.
Garshok. Bring your Garshok.
Garshok.
Because you're going to
Machleta.
need it. You're going to be doing pooping a lot of bricks in that
Actually,
Garshok.
just
of
real
yours.
clear before anyone cuts this up, I love my Armenian friends. I love Tigran. I love Maral. I love my Assyrian friends. Gabriel Bet David, you brought one of my favorite people in the history of life of this world who's half Armenian, half Assyrian. I love these people. I'm using sarcasm as an example because why? These are jokes, guys. All of a sudden, we're not comfortable with jokes.
All right.
I love these people.
All right, let's go to the next story.
They're
here.
still going to hit you in the mouth.
Disney's slashing hundreds of jobs in film, TV as Hollywood facing industry turmoil. This is a New York Post story, and then I'm going to read the next one, and Tom, I'm coming to you here. Crazy stories here, by the way. So Disney is laying off several hundred employees across film, television, corporate finance, with a source stating that layoffs affect multiple teams around the world, including film, TV marketing, TV publicity, casting, development. This follows previous cuts, including 7,000 jobs in 2023 to save $5.5 billion and nearly 6% or fewer than 200 people as ABC's News Corp and Disney Entertainment Networks in March. The layoffs are part of Disney's response to the migration of cable TV audiences to streaming platforms as the company under Bob Iger reshapes its business strategy amid industry turmoil. And then you hear Hollywood has left L.A. Actor Rob Lowe described the scarcity of experienced crews in L.A., noting a production in Atlanta where our Dolly Grip had never been on a set before, and he'd applied for the job because he'd worked at a dolly at Costco. He said the state of the business is so bleak now that even I am willing to consider shooting outside of LA because the opportunities here are just gone away. Film LA reported 2024 as the worst year for local filming, with only about a fifth, of American movies and shows shot in LA. Production has shifted from LA due to generous tax credits elsewhere, with New York offering a 30% base credit with a 10% upstate bonus, subsidizing shows like the HBO Gilded Age with $52 million. Producer Jason Blum said shooting Night Swim in LA cost an extra $4.5 million, while The Good Place creator Michael Shore noted cost efficiency is now the primary focus of a lot of TV and film production. California's 20% credit, capped at $330 million, excludes major salaries, pushing projects to places like Georgia with uncapped incentives. Tom.
Well, there's two big stories in here. Headline number one, this is Exhibit 54 of the shift that's happening in media right now. And Disney is having trouble. ABC, ESPN. When you take a look, let me give you an example. Our good and great friend Stephen A. You heard him on this program talking about all of the avenues where he's going to be used by ESPN. I'm not talking about Sirius. I'm not talking about the other things he's doing. He's going to have his own thing on Sirius. He's also going to be on the POTUS channel on Sirius, apparently. I'm talking about just within the things that he's going to do in the ESPN contract. You know, that would have been a one-man, one-show, one-item contract if it was Anderson Cooper at CNN. Do you see what I mean, Vinny? Yeah, you're going to get $30 million, just sit in a chair from 5 to 7 o'clock each day. That's it. That's all we want to do. What about this? I'm not going to do that. You're only doing one thing. What's happening now, these contracts are for more things. Now, Steven's got a great voice, and he can be used in a lot of ways and everything, and he's growing, and all that's good. But Disney as a whole is in the middle of a complete tsunami of shift. There are two things that are working right now. Disney Plus, which is basically a Netflix competitor. It's all the programming that they've got, all the Star Wars, and theme parks. Those things are working at Disney. Everything else is shifting. Merch is shifting. The big channels are shifting, and they're shifting the big channels as evidenced by the athletes that were cut on ESPN, the dollars that they've cut. They bought certain things, but they've been optimizing it. Give Stephen A. the money. We're going to use him. Fewer, bigger stars and names to use things. So that's what's happening to Disney. It's the same thing that's happening at CNN. And by the way, Pat, would you like to know what CNN's debt, which is corporate bonds, are rated?
What's that?
They got downgraded to BB+.
Are you kidding me?
Which is one step from junk.
Wow.
Junk bonds. That's not me calling it junk, folks. There is a formal word for bonds that are high risk because what you're investing in, you're going to get a good interest rate, get a good return, and it's called junk bonds. That it's risky investment, but you're going to get a good return if you live through the life of the bond. And CNN bonds Warner Brothers Discovery, WBD bonds, have been moved to one step above junk, and they have now called the thing called SpinCo because they're going to spin it out, and they couldn't think of a brand, so Pat, they're calling it SpinCo. We'll let you know we're going to call it later, but we're calling it SpinCo, and we're going to put CNN in it. We're going to put a lot of things in it. And TBS says, hey, can I have $2 billion to renew the NBA? No. No. Well, they're going to go elsewhere. I don't care. We're trying to save money. And they're putting all of this stuff in a soup, and they're trying to spin it out. So that's what's happening in Hollywood. In Disney, the Hollywood story is they're a bunch of globalists and a bunch of leftists. But guess what happened to them? Capitalism. Other states said, would you like to come film here and employ some people in my state? Said Georgia, said Vancouver, Canada, and all these other places. So in the midst of socialist Hollywood, capitalism came to play and ate their lunch. California's lunch got eaten, and now all the Hollywood spending is elsewhere. Because the liberals at the top of entertainment companies, Vinny, you know what they have? Stock options. They have stock options in their public companies, and it's like liberal by day, capitalist by night. When I'm home looking at the stock and looking where things are, we can make more money, sir, filming in Georgia, and they're going to give us tax credits. What the hell are you waiting for? Get to Georgia. And that's what Rob Lowe's talking about. So there's a massive tsunami shift that's happening in media, and it's not getting any better. And there's just more numbers coming out. And now Disney's laying off people, and the only things working is Disney Plus and theme parks.
Yeah, I mean, I'm just going to revisit what I said earlier. I don't really care about California at this point. They've lost my mind. They don't deserve any more of our attention. Every story you hear out of California is just like they're falling apart. Everyone's leaving. Nobody wants to be there.
You just said California 4 times in a sentence where you said you didn't care.
Yeah, thanks, Tom. The one constant in life is change, and disruption has taken over every single industry, from politics to money to Bitcoin to media, and Hollywood is just the latest victim of disruption of social media and Netflix, what have you. Other places are doing it better, faster, cheaper, and there's really no reason to stay in LA to do the Hollywood stuff anymore. Follow the money, tax incentives, high cost productions, unions. In the middle of a shoot, there's homeless people walking on set. The COVID, the overreach. It's just.
I mean, you make me want to cover one more California.
You make me want to leave the one I'm with, start a new relationship with
California.
I'm just so over California and their nonsense.
Well, then I'm not coming.
Do we have any good stories in California?
Let me just show you this.
But you could ski and surf on the same day.
California residents enraged by driverless cars, forced by regulators to make a loud beeping noises like this is, it's like it because they know Californians have such tolerance for liberal policies, and they know Californians won't leave because Californians they're like masochists. They like to be taken advantage. They like punishment, rough. They like it. So they know they're not going to leave. So they're like, look, do it anyways. Honk the horn. They're not going to leave.
Alphabet Mafia.
Brandon, Rob, can you play this thing here with the video? Is this it, Rob?
So I can't find any videos. What they're saying the Waymo cars do is they make that beep, beep, beep noise like a truck backing up.
Yeah.
But there is a news article about that. It doesn't have any of the audio of the cars. But this is also what happened in a Waymo parking lot where they store all the cars. They started getting bundled up because there's nobody driving them, and the horns start honking. And this apparently happens night after night after night at some of these areas where people can't sleep because they hear this noise throughout the night.
Let's just hear it. Go ahead.
Bay Area.
You see, those are all driverless cars, Pat, honking at each other.
They're mad at each other. 4 o'clock in the morning.
Let me hear it. Hang on. I want to hear Randall White. Go ahead.
4 o'clock in the morning, and I look down, and I'm convinced now it is coming from the Waymos.
Neighbors shared videos of driverless Waymo cars filing into the lot and backing into spots, which appears to trigger honking from the other Waymos.
The cars are robotic, and they're honking at each other, and there's no one in the cars when it's happening, and that's absurd. Would like them to stop honking their horn at 4 in the morning repeatedly.
In San Francisco, Alyssa Gord, NBC, Bay Area News.
Oh my God,
Editing
that is
perfect.
hilarious.
It's gotten so bad that in the news article that they talk about, these charging stations where they charge the cars have been put next to residential apartment complexes. So what people are now doing, because there's driverless cars, there's nobody in there, they're now going out and putting items in front of the entrance to the charging station, so the cars get bottled up and they can't actually pull in to charge. So the cars will just line up throughout the street for blocks at a time.
Wow.
Yeah, all you need is an orange cone, and you put 2 of them like 5 feet apart. This lady did it. You see her. She puts 2 orange cones. And
see if you can find a clip.
And the Waymo cars won't move, because they interpret the orange cones as something that I should not run over.
Is that it? Is that the one?
Yeah, there she goes.
Let me see it. Go back a little bit, Ron.
And see the cameras and all the stuff that's
Watch
up on
video.
top? And now that Waymo will wake up in the morning and won't move. Because all that stuff in the radar that's on top of it It's like, I cannot run over this.
And this is what? This is a lot of this is in California. I mean, look, advancement, you're going to go through some of the headaches of advancement, but honking of the horn, is this the clip of the honking of the horn or no? That was something else.
No, that was just the news article about it.
That was a news article about it?
Yeah, news video.
Play it. Let me see it.
Ginger, thank you. Residents in one neighborhood of Santa Monica are fed up with Waymo. They're upset over traffic and noise from the self-driving taxis at their charging stations. They say the beeping sounds from the cars are keeping them up all day and all night. KTLA's Annie Rose Ramos live now in Santa Monica with the story. Annie Rose, good morning.
Hey, Jess, good morning to you. Well, Waymo tells me that they have multiple lots throughout Los Angeles where their cars are able to go and charge. But really the controversy is surrounding the two located right here in Santa Monica. I'm standing in front of both of them. There's one right next to each other here. And you can see the Waymo lined up those cars one after the other. And the residents tell us, the ones who at least live right next to these charging lots, that there is noise coming from these areas all day and all night. Really, when it comes to the backing up beeping of these cars. And it is creating this controversy and creating this battle between the company, Waymo, and the residents that is now reaching a whole new level.
24 hours noise. If you watch this, especially come at nighttime, I could go to sleep and then a couple hours later I'm waking up because I'm hearing the noise.
Okay.
I can't even have my windows open, only during the day.
That's so LA. Look at the park.
So I don't know what to do. City councils, I've notified them, but why'd they put this right here in residential?
Because it's LA, homie. To live and die in LA. Don't you know the message?
All right.
Now residents have been reported using...
Maybe it's like whales. You know, whales talk to each other.
When is the last time you've heard somebody say
Tom,
this? And
baby.
I'm being dead. Adam, any of you. When's the last time you heard somebody say this with this conviction? I'm moving to Los Angeles. Or California? When's the last time you actually heard somebody that's
younger people
to move to Cali?
Younger people.
Oh,
younger people, not
sane,
married
older,
kids, values, want to raise their kids the right way and position themselves. Look, if you think about the top 10 biggest decisions you'll make in your life, okay? What are the top 10 biggest decisions you'll make in your life? Number one is what? Who you marry. Number two is if you're going to have kids. Number three, relationship with God. Number four, career you're going to take. Number five, who you're going to be good friends with, that are going to be long-term friends with you, right? Number six, one of them is where do you live?
Yeah.
Period. Where do you live? It's one of the biggest decisions you'll have to make in your life. And the level of respect I have for Californians to be this tolerant, that they're willing to take all of this, do you realize there's a place in heaven for these guys? For their level of their ability to do that.
Abuse and
no, I'm telling you, I do think that they need to be like, what do you call it when they
knighted?
Not knighted, like to make them saints.
Oh
Saint
wow!
status.
Saints.
Like, oh yeah, where they touch them on both
Saints
sides.
do the
I don't know how they do it. Whatever it is, it's like Saint Armin, Saint Sergius, Saint Jose.
They're all there.
Saint Ricky, Saint John. Like it's just a lot of saints.
Knighted Sir.
Yeah.
It's insane.
I love you guys. I love you guys. Listen, I still, I love that place to go and, you know, haven't been there for a while. I used to go there, you know, I used to live there. And then I used to go there, God knows how many times, 20 times a year, 12 times a year. Then it went to 6 times. Now it's once a year.
Yeah. Just my mom, they're all there.
Yeah.
I have to go there to, you know.
Well, all right. So let's go to one story. That's just a very, very quick story. I don't want to go on this too long.
Of
Joe Walsh, who we had on the podcast, apparently he came out and he said he has left the Republican Party. Can you show the other clip, Rob, of him talking about that he's left the Republican Party first? So he posted this video. Nice hair, good-looking guy. Go ahead, play the clip, Rob.
Yeah. I will not eat green
Democrat. Yesterday, I formally joined the Democratic Party, and I couldn't be more excited and more proud. I love this country. I fucking love this country. And my former political party is a real and direct threat right now to everything we hold dear in this country. Hey, Democrats, we got to fight. If my becoming a Democrat does nothing else but then to help the Democratic Party fight, help us fight, help.
Okay, now go to the other clip when he was on the
Democratic
podcast.
Party.
Go to the, and listen, I don't know why he didn't do this. Go ahead, Rob.
I hope the Democrats have
I
a
asked
brush.
you a specific question.
Which is what?
Am I a Democrat?
based on what you're saying that you don't regret your vote, of course you're a Democrat.
That makes me a Democrat, even though I'm not a Democrat and I'm not a registered Democrat.
Because you supported policies of a Democrat.
Pat,
if I vote for a Democrat or a Republican,
Republicans and independents voted for Biden.
If I claim I'm non-emotional,
come on, man. It's a nice podcast, but you gotta fucking deal in facts.
If I claim I'm non-emotional, which you're saying you're not, okay.
Pat,
if I claim I'm not, what part of your vote today?
Did independents vote for Biden in 2020?
What part of your vote today?
See, he just doesn't listen.
Because you haven't answered my question yet.
How much longer is this, guys?
You haven't answered
I'm having a ball.
You haven't answered my question yet.
No, I'm sitting 5 feet from you.
I get that, 3 feet.
Listen, 3 feet.
Yeah.
And I'm telling you to your face, I am not a registered Democrat.
What part of the policies you voted for are you happy with today?
I'm not happy with. Let me finish a thought.
I want to hear it. Policies.
As I've said before, I'm not happy with the vast majority of policies Biden has done.
Yeah.
I'm not a Democrat. I don't regret my vote.
Yeah.
Plenty of independents and Republicans voted for Biden too, Pat. They're not Democrats. Maybe they regret their vote, but they're not Democrats.
But that's a difference, though.
No, you called me a Democrat,
that's a different, though. You supported...
You know what? You're un-American.
You supported Democratic
policy. You're un-American.
You can't say that. Why would you say that?
It's your opinion.
Because he's calling... No, exactly.
It's your opinion.
How stupid, Adam, is it for me to say that?
But if you can...
not true.
If you can validate the point...
But Pat sits there and says, I'm a
Democrat.
Democrat.
But if you validate the point, I'll take it.
I love you, man, and this isn't emotional.
If you validate the point, say it.
But there's no point.
Well, Pat, then tell me your policies.
There's no point to
What policies you voted for? What policies you voted for?
Pat,
are you happy for the vote?
Pat?
Yes.
I'm not going to tell you a damn thing if you continue to call me a Democrat.
Then tell me what policies you don't support.
You can pause it right there, Rob. This is just entertaining. Look,
he threatens to leave.
The guy that's
he threatens to leave.
I think right after this. I don't know if you want to keep going.
Play it. He threatens to leave, and Adam starts like, no, you don't have to leave. Did we lose audio, Rob?
Hey, Tyler, how much longer?
Tell me the policies.
That's how long.
This is when he threatens.
Joe, you can get up and leave. I'm totally fine with that. We'll open the door for you.
I may, and it's
you do,
Joe. You're going to be fine.
No,
you're going to stay there. You're good.
No. I'm
stay right there,
buddy.
This is not emotional.
Yeah,
it really isn't.
So they give me a logical answer.
I'm not.
You can pause it right here.
I love that.
Look, the only reason I play this clip is because I'm so proud of him. I just wanted to publicly congratulate Joe that you finally did it.
Came out of the
and you did it, and you ought to be proud of yourself.
Yeah,
and this was by the way, very simple message. Proud of you, Joe. Wish you all the best. Congratulations. And may your decision to finally be public about it. I hope there was a little bit of inspiration from this 3-foot
conversation,
exchange that we had. That we were sitting right next to each other. It was an incredible moment that we had together that we will forever, for the rest of our lives, share. Joe, congrats to you.
Welcome home.
God bless. All the best. All right, so let's go to the next one here. According to a study, young men are not mentally ill enough to vote Democrat.
That's the funniest headline I've heard in a long time.
Right after the
it gets better. Dive in.
Joe, skip this next part. But according to a study, young men are not mentally ill enough to vote Democrat. Okay, this is offensive. Honestly, like when I read the text, it's a little offensive, but let's read it. Maybe they have a good
numbers.
One of the biggest stories in Washington over the next 4 years is whether Democrats can wrest back support among young men before the 2028 election. But to do that, the party must first understand why young male voters have flocked so heavily to the opposition party. American statistician Nate Silver dove into that question on Tuesday, finding that the mental health gap between men and women could be the crux of the divide. Citing a cooperative education study, Silver reported that around 40% of Gen Z males consider their mental health very good or excellent, by comparison to 20% of Gen Z females saying the same. So twice as better. Now let's look at the party political preferences. According to the same study, 51% of conservatives say they have excellent mental health compared to just 20% of liberals. When asked if they have poor mental health, 45% of liberals responded yes, juxtaposed to just 19% of conservatives. Put simply, those who report lower states of mental health, like Gen Z females, are more likely to vote Democrat. Further, Silver summarized that young men view Democrats as nits. What's a nit? Which he defined as neurotic, risk-averse, sticklers for the rules, always up in everyone's business. What a clever term. Tom, your thoughts on this?
Well, suddenly I agree with Nate Silver after an entire election campaign of just uncovering just craziness in the polling. But it's out there. So I think whoever did this at Outkick and put together the headline, props to you. According to a study, young men are not mentally ill enough to vote Democrat. That's just props to you, the headline writer. But this is, I think this is, there's a part of this beyond the laughter here and even my chuckles that, it kind of worries me. And, is our divide in America also along lines of not just, reacting to this and reacting to that, border, economy, all these things, COVID, but that actually that there is also a line of, whatever people understand the term mental health to be when they're answering this survey. And I think it's kind of sad. But there's another part of me that says, well, that explains that.
That was your finish? Okay.
Yeah, that's
Bro, you're
go
fired.
That's my finish. That explains that. Now to Vinny with math.
I thought you were. Go ahead.
By the way, Tom's going to be performing at the Miami Improv this weekend.
Adam,
if you
go
want to
ahead.
get your tickets,
I'll be here all week.
Are you mentally ill if
Remember
you're a male?
Jewish jokes on Thursdays. Come on back.
Tom's got it on lock. Tom, you want to keep going?
Anytime. Just jump right in.
Male Democrats these days, I actually have a checklist that I use when I'm talking to my former friends, still my friends, but former colleagues in the Democratic Party. This is the Democratic checklist. It's only 3 parts, so bear with me. Number 1, are you gay? Yes or no? All right, I get it. Why you voted gay? All right, no? All right, cool. Number 2, do you have mental health issues? Are you on any sort of antidepressants? No? Okay. Number 3, do you have TDS or do you hate Donald Trump? Usually they're going to check one of these 3, if not all 3. And if the answer is to no, no, no to all of them, they're more than likely an independent or Republican. And I've gone through this process. I had to say, am I gay? No, despite the internet comments. Do I have mental health? Do I take antidepressants? No. Okay. Do I hate Trump or have TDS? No, no, no. Okay, great. I'm an independent and I voted for Trump. That's the checklist.
You know what sucks and what's good? Data. Very simple. You can tell, we interview people a lot. And it's so interesting when you interview somebody. This just happened in the last couple of weeks. And, I've been interviewing people for the last 23, 24 years as you're hiring people. You'll see a pattern. We interviewed somebody a couple of weeks ago. Within the interview of the first 15 minutes, this person, he bashed his previous 2 jobs and made fun of it nonstop. And he talked about how scared he is of the economy today and how nervous he is. And we were hiring this for a position for a pretty heavy position job for one of the companies that we run. And I sat there and asked myself, who would think like that? Who's going to subscribe to that language? Who speaks that language? There's a language you speak, right? Like today, you know what happened this morning?
What happened?
I've been up since 5 o'clock, but Senna's up since 6 o'clock. Senna was dressed downstairs, couldn't wait to come to the office.
I love her.
She's been at the office since very early working.
Roller skating.
Every day she's working. She's going around. She works with Merch. She works with this. Did you hear about what she said to Alicia?
No.
Remind me to tell you what she said to Alicia.
Okay.
You're going to crack up what Alicia knows.
Okay.
You're going to crack up what she says to Alicia. Yeah. But she's around here walking, running around, right? I went to my dentist yesterday, and I went to his office. This kid is wiping the window. Shout out to the dentist in Boynton, Spodek. The son is wiping the window. He opens the door. How are you, sir? Very good.
How old?
I walk in, 11 years old. I walk in. My dentist pulls up. Craig, what's up, Patrick? How you doing? Great. We're walking in. Father's there. Oh, my God, Patrick, let me tell you about the one video you talk about your father and da-da-da-da. I always tell my son I love him. Pleasure meeting you. I go sit down. Today we're celebrating Craig's father's 49-year anniversary being a dentist. You got to be kidding me. No. Grandfather, father, son, all in the same place. The language of responsibility, positivity is passed down. You speak that language because of the community you're a part of and the people you're around. Very simple. If you speak negative, defeated, mental health, life is so hard, life is so this, economy sucks, all this, it's because you're around people that allow you to speak like that. If you're around me, I won't let you speak like that, or you're going to eventually get sick of me. But I'm not going to let you talk like that in front of my kids if you're negative. I'm like, look, man, we don't talk like that in front of our family. We just don't. There's certain behaviors we don't have. So either you change or we cannot coexist. So when you see these types of stats coming out, you know what it means? That's the language that the Democratic parents speak to their kids. They impose those fears. They impose those thoughts. They impose those non-existing stress and crisis and issues and mental illness that's taking place. That's what they do. So imagine how parents speak at now when the kid goes home. Imagine what mom says. I'm so sick. I'm so sick. I'm so sick. My dad is he's had health issues for God knows how long. Never, ever did he say anything about him being sick. We have a relative that's been saying, he's sick for decades. And that person was the healthiest person. And my dad was sick as a dog. He would never talk about it. My dad could be sick. You would never know about it. He doesn't want to advertise it. It's a mindset that's passed down. It is a mindset that's passed down to them. So unfortunately, as much as these kids are going through this, it's because their parents are teaching those habits of behaving that way. Go watch Tom's kids. See how Brooke and Bailey are. Go around them and see how they are. Go around them and see how they carry themselves, how they behave, how they handle themselves, how they are around my boys, the relationship, how they get along. So, folks, that could be a simple conversation as all of us as parents have to be very careful on the way we speak around our kids, how we act like victims, how it's unfair. Let me tell you what happened and da-da-da-da-da, because your kids are going to mimic that same mindset that you're going through yourself as well. Anyways, great podcast. Really enjoyed today's conversations and discussion. Excited about what's going on with Her Take, folks. Tomorrow, Her Take is doing the first ever live episode. Ooh. That's going to be going out at 10 a.m. Okay, tomorrow will be 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. And guess who's joining us tomorrow? The great Tommy Lauren.
Oh, wow.
Tommy Lauren will be on the podcast tomorrow, Her Take Live. Here very soon, we will do an episode where it's going to be a live audience, and we will let you know when that takes place. We're excited about it. But it's Jillian, Anna Kasparian, Lindy Lee, Amy Dangerfield, and we'll have Tommy Lauren tomorrow. Folks, if you want to see, and you know what's crazy is people thought every one of the people that would be here would all be conservative. I don't even know if we have anybody on the panel that would fully be considered conservative. Of course, Tommy Lauren's the guest that's on. But we want the debate of topics and issues. And the last couple episodes they did was fire. They're doing great. They're growing. If you want to see a direct competitor to what the mainstream gave you, which is The View, and you want to see that grow, please go support the show called Her Take. Rob, if we can put the link below in the chat and the comment section, folks, just go subscribe. Put it in your calendar tomorrow, 10 a.m. on Her Take. God bless everybody. Have a great weekend. Take care. Bye-bye. Bye-bye.